like I muted. Hello, Devin, can you hear me? Devin? Welcome.
Are y'all good to go?
This is not the easiest system to
There we go. Awesome. We will go ahead and begin. Welcome to the July State Board of Education meeting today. We appreciate everyone who came to be with us here today, and we will start with a moment of silence. Thank you. It's the best type of morning when we start with breakfast and celebrations. So we're going to start by recognizing our Teachers of the Year, which is really just truly my favorite part of our board.
Absolutely. Stacy Smith, Deputy Commissioner. We're going to start, first off, welcome, Bo.
Thank you.
You look good up there.
Thank you.
But we're first going to just start by saying a few words about Capri. Those of you who got were fortunate enough to hear the keynote yesterday, she was our final keynote at our ADE Summit. And what I found, first off, she's hilarious. We thought we were going to submit her for maybe a new Abbott character because she could have a debut in maybe some reality drama TV, I don't know. But she was telling personal stories about, she was a non-traditional teacher. And she was talking about all these life experiences that she had had on her way to becoming a teacher. Everything from 911 operator to working in a funeral home. And sometimes it's to me, it's those real life experiences that sometimes make our best teachers because they've experienced it and they've experienced life. She has been a true treasure at the department, and we are excited, and I'll let you make the special announcement. But I'm going to turn it over to Carly and let Carly tell a few more things about Capri. But Capri, we have thoroughly enjoyed having you as our Arkansas Teacher of the Year.
Carly Saraceni, Assistant Commissioner. It's with great excitement today that I get to say that we're going to actually get to keep Capri. She is going to be part of the Educator Effectiveness and Licensure, and who better than to advise teachers that want to become, or just career changers who want to become teachers. Who better to advise and talk them through that path than Capri? So we're really excited because we had some positions in my unit, and we're just excited that she has accepted it, and she's going to stay with us. And I think Bo is as happy as I am because he is going to have he is going to have her by his side all year. So in her new position, not only will she be doing recruitment and retention and mentoring, but she will take over the ATOY search for our new ATOY, and she will take on those responsibilities. So we're so excited, and not only is she starting a new job, but she is embarking on her doctoral degree at SAU, so she is very busy. But you may not know this, but when I was HR and assistant soup at North Little Rock, she happened to get hired in my office. So this is just kind of bitter. It's just a sweet thing. So we're really excited. But at the same time, we're excited to keep Capri. We are beyond excited what Bo is going to bring this year as our Teacher of the Year. So we're just excited at the opportunities that are coming, because he has that lens through CTE and that career and readiness, and we're excited for what will happen.
Good morning. I'm on this side now. Well, this is been a whirlwind year for me as the 2023 Arkansas Teacher of the Year, and I've enjoyed it so much, being able to travel the state and see what our teachers and our educators are doing with our students here in the state, and how we are continuing to grow them and just nurture and cultivate our children. And so I'm super excited about my new role, because I get to talk to a lot of people about joining the greatest profession in the world and just helping them along their path. And this means a lot to me, and I'm even more excited that Bo will pick up the baton. He's gonna have a great year. He's already started, he's excited, and so I can't wait to see the great things that he does. And I've really appreciated the staff here at ADE, because they've helped me so much this year as I've navigated everything and just supporting me and uplifting me. And so I'm so appreciative of this journey. So thank you all.
I think I just stole, oh, sorry, I wanted to make one little comment. I just stole your microphone, sorry. But, you know, situations like this where when a fabulous teacher leaves the classroom breaks my heart a little bit, because those students lose having you in front of them. But I'm excited because your impact is going to improve and, you know, change the lives of more children all over Arkansas. So thank you for continuing the work. We appreciate you.
Thank you. I really do strongly believe that all of our children need a Teacher of the Year in front of them. They need an exceptional role model.
Well, I'm very excited that you're going to continue that impact as well. When I think of you, I think of your joy and your depth of care for your students. So I expect to continue to hear updates about your students as you see them, and I'm excited that you'll be able to share that with other teachers and help cultivate that, because that's it. You really just truly shine, and it's been so fun to have you up here, learning from you, seeing what you get to do, and seeing that impact this year. So I'm so glad the agency and so many others will continue to have that.
Thank you.
So now that she's officially on the clock, she's late for her training on the first day. So we're going to send her off, okay? So appreciate you, Capri. Thank you for all that you've done.
Oh, Capri, if you don't mind, we're going to take a picture really quickly with you.
I know that shot.
Is that okay? Yeah. You know the drill. Good morning. Welcome. I never liked you. with that, we're now going to hear from the Hot Springs School District about their prevention recovery program. Thank you all for coming here today.
Well, good morning to everybody. My name is Dudley Webb III. I'm here this morning wearing the hat of District 4 City Director for Hot Springs and sponsor of this program. I first want to give thanks to all of you, the Arkansas State Board of Education members, the staff, Secretary of Education, Mr. Olivia, for recognizing the Hot Springs School District Prevention Recovery Program. There's everything right with providing intervention programs for adults who suffer from substance abuse to give those people a second chance at life. However, would it not be even more right to give our youth prevention programs to decrease the potential future need for substance abuse intervention? The Hot Springs School District is giving its students this proactive safeguard with the Prevention Recovery Program. To date, the program is having huge success, and I'm proud of the Hot Springs School District, its administrators, staff, and the Prevention Recovery team for maintaining this program with fidelity. I want to give just a quick shout out to a few of our stakeholders who were standing next to me and those with me since day one and are still here today. The Arkansas Municipal League, the Arkansas Association of Counties, Arkansas Opioid Recovery Partnership, Garland County Sheriff and County Judge, and he's here today, Judge Mahoney, if you'll wave. Hot Springs Mayor, Hot Springs City Manager and Deputy City Manager, who's also here today, Mr. Lance Spicer. All of the city staff, the Hot Springs Police Chief, the peer recovery specialist for the Hot Springs Police Department, local JPs, and then other city directors and many others. Now I want to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Stephanie Nahus of the Hot Springs School District and Prevention Specialist Anthony Tidwell, and then later Director Kirk Lane, who will briefly share with you the logistics and then give you the current data of the program. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Stephanie Nahus, Superintendent of the Hot Springs School District, and really just want to thank you all for allowing us to share a little bit today about our peer recovery program. Hot Springs Police Department was the first police department in the state to implement a peer recovery specialist, and so we felt like it was just a natural fit for Hot Springs School District to be the first school district in the state to implement this prevention recovery program. We believe truly in taking care and educating the whole child, and I always say we provide endless opportunities, but with those endless opportunities, we provide endless supports for our students. And there are needs that our students have in providing them this prevention program. We have a prevention specialist who I'm going to turn it over to in just a minute, and we have a designated SRO for the program, and that was provided through this pilot grant with the opioid recovery funds. We serve and really focus in on our 7th through 12th grade students at our Hot Springs Junior Academy and at our Hot Springs World Class High School, but our team is ready to meet any crisis need across our district or even across Garland County. We do have 7 school districts in Garland County, and we do all collaborate and work so well together. And so while we were the first school district, we've had those conversations that if there is a crisis in their districts, we're going to be the first team to step up and help them. And I do just want to, again, thank all of our community support. I'm glad Mr. Webb mentioned as our city director for District 4, which is where our school district is. He brought this to us. He led us through this process, and I couldn't be more grateful. And we had a boardroom full of city representatives, county representatives, when we presented this to our board and ultimately took the next steps. So I'm going to turn this over to Anthony Tidwell, our prevention specialist.
Thank you. Our goal is to reduce substance abuse, increase substance awareness, prevent opioid overdose, and decrease the stigma associated with substances. Our team has been digitally working to enhance and support prevention efforts within our community. One significant development is the establishment of a drug-free youth coalition comprising members from Hot Springs World Class High School and Hot Springs Junior Academy. This coalition aims to foster a supportive environment and promote healthy lifestyles among our youth. Collaborating closely with the Hot Springs Police Department, we organized a successful drug take-back event. During this event, we safely disposed of 48 pounds of vapes and dab pens, devices that were confiscated by our project staff. Additionally, we hosted a ditch vape and a one pill kill gathering to raise awareness about substance abuse, coinciding with the National Drug Take-Back event. Furthermore, our team actively participated in the Trojan Reading Time initiative, selecting books that align with our program's mission to help youth make empowered, healthy choices. As part of our ongoing efforts, we hosted an anti-drug assembly at all 6 schools in the Hot Springs School District during National Prevention Week from May 13th through May 16th. Our Drug-Free Youth Coalition members took the lead in this initiative, further amplifying our message against substance misuse. Regarding student support services, our project staff has provided assistance to 64 students ranging from 7th grade to 12th grade who have violated the substance abuse policy. While we have observed 5 instances of repeated offenses, we remain committed to guiding these students toward healthier choices. So we had 64 students and only 5 repeated. To achieve this, we utilize evidence-based programs such as American Lung Association, titled In Depth, and the Dimensions Well Body program. They focus on the whole well body of students. Additionally, we have hosted 10 group meetings and 24 one-on-one meetings to provide support for students seeking added assistance and guidance. These are several emails that our program received from students and a teacher. One email states that, "Thank you for always checking on me. I really appreciate that you're like a father that I've never had and that I'm very grateful for. These past few days have been terrible. I really haven't been feeling myself, but I'm tired. I tried my best to bring all my grades up and thankful that what I did, some of them still a little off, but I keep trying to change for the best for me and others." Another email from a student. "Hey, Coach Tidwell, it's Austin of my business, ACC. I noticed that I made almost $200 today, and I could have bought an illegal pen, but I didn't." Another email from a teacher. "I am seeing a big difference with this student. You are working wonders. Thank you."
So good morning, I'm Kirk Lane. I'm the director of the Arkansas Opioid Recovery Partnership, and my deputy director, Tanisha Barnes, is with me today. So what we are we're the brainchild of the Arkansas Municipal League and the Association of Arkansas Counties, who receives settlement dollars for opioid abatement sent forth through the government, through the national settlement for cities and counties. And so we were blessed to partner with Hot Springs School District in developing a pilot program that we could look at the data that comes out of this program, is what we hope, in 1 year's time, and develop a program or a template for other school districts in the state is what our goal is. And so we're seeing good numbers, it's seeing good results. So our concept was to pull together prevention and a peer recovery specialist, somebody with lived experience, somebody that has defeated addiction or has a concept of how to defeat addiction, and pull them together to empower students to come forward and be able to converse different from the past of just going into a school or an education facility and saying drugs are bad, don't do them. Still need to do that, but takes it to the next level of somebody that can be a role model for those students and empower those students to defeat the opioid epidemic is what our goal is.
Thank
you all for letting us be here, and we'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you all so much. This is so powerful and so important. So it's great for us to hear and great for other districts to hear, as they will hopefully be able to do similar and follow in your footsteps. We'll open it up for questions, board members.
So I just have a quick question. So you mentioned you're going to pilot this for a year, look at the data, and then set forward a template for other districts. When is that year complete?
We started in January
Okay.
2024, and so and we received grant funding for 2 years for the program, and so 1 year will be complete in January of 2025. And we'll continue the program, and it was our goal in the Hot Springs School District that it be so wonderful that we will be able to continue funding it past the life of the grant funding. And I know that's the plan, is to build a template that districts could do. We had opioid settlement funds to be able to utilize now, but those won't be there forever.
Right. Thank you.
Is this something you pull together yourself, or is it based on a national program? Or
No, we're developing it with the Hot Springs School District.
thank you.
There are evidence-based programs that's already built. A lot of them, you have to go online, and when a student violates a substance abuse policy, they usually go online and take something online, but I took that and made it interactive with an in-person.
And I'll get, you cut me off already? Never mind.
No, stay. You got it. So much
I just want to thank Dr. Nehus and Hot Springs and all of the school districts in Garland County for really embracing this initiative. And when you look at everybody that's here at the podium, this isn't just one organization doing it all. You've got county officials, city officials, judges, excellent educators. And when we were on site probably about a month or so ago, and we were learning about this program, I was like, we have to spotlight this. We've got to use this as a model kind of beacon for other communities and other counties, because these opioid addictions, the vaping, the substance abuse, they're real challenges with our youth. They're being targeted every single day by corporations that are trying to get them hooked and become lifelong consumers. And when we can get the right information out there and be proactive and also provide supports in the recovery network and intervention, this work will save lives. And this is important work to do. And as we go through this pilot, I know we'll have other counties. We'll get to all 75 counties. But we're setting that example of how this isn't just one person's problem. This isn't just an initiative off to the side. These are communities coming together saying, we're going to care about our children and families, and we're going to support them. So thank you for that.
And I do want to stress, because that's something we had to talk about to our district community and our district stakeholders, because they automatically are like, oh, you've got this huge drug problem in your school district. And that's not the case at all. We didn't have this growing, horrible drug problem, but we have always been willing to step out and put prevention efforts into place. And so that was something we had to talk about, like with my school board and with just our community stakeholders, was we've got to share a common message. And what Secretary Leva said is absolutely correct. And Anthony alluded to it, the vape problem, that's not a Hot Springs School District problem. That's a county, state, national problem. And it's going to take all of us together to help educate our kids to end that problem and help them have a successful life.
Well, you've gotten a grant so far. Do you have a per cost per student figured by any chance? So when a district
I
is
haven't
ready to-
calculated that yet.
Okay.
I'm living on grant funds right now. No, no, I could absolutely calculate that and send that to Secretary Oliva to share with the board.
That might be helpful, because I'm sure other districts are gonna wanna do this.
The grant for 2 years was for just under $240,000, and that covers the salary for the prevention recovery specialist, SRO officer, and then resources.
I didn't introduce our SRO. Officer Jason Graves is our additional resource officer that we have added to our team.
Would he like to say anything?
I'm just glad to be here and glad to be a part of this team, and I love where it's going and proud to be a part of it.
We appreciate your work, all of you.
Well, thank you all so much. If you don't mind, we'd love to get a picture with you, and would love to, continue here how the program goes as you go on and think about as y'all expand that work across the state. Thank you.
I just want to make a quick connection. So you guys recently had approved rules on school safety that had to do with opioid rescue kits. And so I just wanted to acknowledge that Director Kurt Lane has been a big part of that. His office sending out the rescue kits, working with our school health unit to get those in all the schools across the state. So that is another face associated with that and impact across the state. So thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. Next, I know we would like to highlight the hard work that's been going on this week with the ADE Summit. I unfortunately was not able to attend, but saw lots of pictures and have heard so many great things.
Yeah, it was an amazing event this week, and we don't have photos or anything for you right now because Gail and Kevin, though, I will say, we're all over that, the summit, the Hot Springs Convention Center, taking photos, so hopefully we'll have something for you next month to be able to look at. But I wanted to let you know that we did have almost 1,500 participants in Hot Springs, from classroom teachers to early childhood educators, school administrators, district staff, participating in the summit. We had at least 6 institutions of higher ed there as well. So it was an amazing group of people committed to education and wanting to learn about education. We had over 200 sessions, and they were packed, absolutely packed. We were honored. We had a special guest on the opening of the summit, and that was the governor herself. And she came and gave a very passionate speech about how she is the Arkansas education governor, and she wants to be known as an educational governor, and that made priority that teachers were her priority. Followed up with a keynote. I don't know he did as well as the governor, but Jacob came out and he also hit a home run, again, hitting and highlighting on the initiatives and the programs that we have in our state, pushing and challenging schools to be better than what they currently are, flipping our mindset about where we are in Arkansas and what we can be nationally. He really did throw down the gauntlet on where we're heading, what we're going, and what the expectations are. Throughout the week, you saw all your ACs, you saw unit directors, you saw people from all over the department doing these 209 sessions. And it was absolutely extraordinary to see the people who work in this office day in, day out, boots on the ground, out in the field, doing what they do best, and making sure that educators know that, one, we're here to support them, what the guidelines are, what the supports are, and again, what the direction is and where we are heading. Some of the biggest sessions, anything that had the word Atlas in it, was wall to wall, and very large rooms. And we can't, the thing that's so neat about the Atlas exam is we are trailblazers. Arkansas is the only state in the nation doing what we're doing around the assessment system, with a unified assessment system that has a built-in progress monitoring from kindergarten through grade 10. We're the only ones. Has built-in screeners, has test lists for dyslexia identification. We'll be able to see throughout the year interims, classroom, formative assessments built in, parent resources built in. This first year, there's some AI engine aspects of it that are being trained, but we are truly leading the nation in the area of assessment. And the assessment team, the curriculum teams working together have been amazing. Matt Sewell got to highlight the Arkansas app. He actually partnered with school districts to talk about how this has changed the way they're talking, one, about the money in their districts, but also around their district strategic plan and pulling all the elements together, and we're not working in silos. We had numerous early childhood sessions about how to increase infant and toddler slots, how to start a program, what you need to know, who are your local leads, how can you plug in and get involved. Again, what an opportunity for people to be able to come to an educational summit and hear information from the youngest of our kiddos to college. And that's what we were doing. Carly Saraceni and her unit on licensure. I did a presentation on rules. Imagine that. You guys would have been experts in this session. In fact, y'all could have been up there and delivered it. And it was like 300 people in the room wanting to hear about the rules and the different things coming out. I told them they were all the rule followers. The ones who were going to break the rules were in the other sessions, right? But licensure, like that is the one that when we talked about licensure, and you today are going to make those rules final to go to ALC, school people coming up and saying, are we really going to be able to do that? Are we really going to be able to test out? Are we really going to be able to? Most interested in that. Carly Saraceni probably has numerous emails for clarifications because people could not believe the amount of red tape that we're reducing in our licensure rules to make it easier for teachers to get in the classroom and do what they do best. eSchool, Andy Sullivan with spicing up for school administrators. If you know anything about Andy Sullivan, you couldn't have missed him. Him and Pierce Peacock both had on, he had on a sequenced red jacket, he had on a chef hat, he had on glasses with flames, talking to educators and administrators about how they can spice up being a school administrator. And so we had creativity all over. Accountability system, being able to talk about where we're moving with that, what we're doing with that. The sessions can go on and on and on, but it was an amazing opportunity for our department. It was an amazing opportunity for schools to see that we're more than just monitoring. We're really there to help lead and guide and set the vision for where we're heading in our state. Appreciate Secretary Oliva in the keynote and the governor for coming in and really setting the tone for where we were heading this week. I would be remiss if I didn't mention specifically two people, Carmen Jordan and Daniel Collier, who are faces that you probably don't know, may not even know who these two people are, but they've worked tirelessly over the last year getting ready to set this up. On Sunday, we had probably had a good 10 to 15 people, ADE people, that most people don't know. You don't get to see them, sweating, carrying in bags, stuffing bags, setting up booths, working to make sure that this went off without a hitch. But Carmen and Daniel went above and beyond. They don't want to be on the stage with the microphone giving the presentations, but they really were the backbone to this, and we appreciate everything that they did. So thank you for letting me brag about it, Secretary.
want to brag a little bit too. I had planned to go Monday, and I had a personal issue that came up that took priority. But Carmen and Daniel did such a phenomenal job executing everything and planning everything and preparing everything that the sessions that I'd signed up for, I was able to go in and look. The slides were attached. So even though I didn't get the full experience, I still felt like I got to see a little bit and learn a little bit. And I've been to a lot of conferences. They don't all are not that well executed. So again, compliments to them. I'm glad you mentioned their names because they did a great job.
Thank you for highlighting them.
Is the conference well attended by the school districts across the state?
Yes, it is, and it's growing, and it's an assortment of folks. It's everything from their child nutrition folks to their school principal to some superintendents. This year, what was interesting is we did hear from. We're probably one of the only conferences that it doesn't matter what aspect of education you're in. There's something for you there.
Yeah, good.
And so that was neat to see. We actually have built-in team time at the end of the day, where folks can gather up with all the people who came from their district and talk about the things that they learned and got out of it. So we just hope for it to continue to grow, for us to get a little bit better each year and make sure that we're delivering the resources and tools that people need.
Yeah, good. It sounds like a fantastic resource.
It was an amazing 3 days. We are tired.
Yeah.
So if I mess up today presenting items, you're not going to say anything about it.
Sure.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, and thank you again for all of the hard work from the agency that went into that. That's amazing. Okay, with that, we will go ahead and start out. Changes to the agenda. I know of one. Are there others? Okay.
Yeah, I have one change to the agenda. I want to pull, I think it's 5.4.c. It's the DESI rules governing better beginnings. I want to table that until at least next month. There are two particular changes that I'd like to see added while we have this opportunity. One in particular is the out-of-school requirements for a level 6 program. So for those that are less familiar, out-of-school time is aftercare, it's summer care, it's non-instructional time. And the ratio right now for a level 6 program is 1 to 15, putting a higher burden on out-of-school time than we expect during instructional time. That can get very expensive, or it can create a situation where programs simply cannot attain level 6, not fiscally. So I wanted to see that adjusted to sort, to enable those programs to earn the distinguishment that they, earn the distinguished level of quality that they are providing. Secondly, something that I'm learning as I'm kind of traveling the state and talking to programs, we know that childcare in Arkansas is in crisis. We know that there are not enough seats. We know programs are closing. But we also know there are programs trying to get into the industry and open. The problem is they're doing so in areas where there simply aren't families that can afford to pay for childcare. So thankfully we have childcare assistance. But the current hoops that we've set out for them to jump through in order to begin accepting childcare assistance often can take months. These programs are hemorrhaging money trying to keep classrooms open, keep lights on, keep rent paid in that sort of intermediary time. So I'm interested in adding a sort of provisional Better Beginnings certification, a rule that stipulates that given that a program has met certain requirements, say they have a letter of recommendation from their local lead, a letter of recommendations from their Better Beginning folks, that in the meantime, while they're working towards earning that certification, if we can ensure that they're doing the right things, we can go ahead and provide a provisional child care assistant certification. They can begin serving families immediately. Families can get care, have that continuity of care, and they can stabilize their budgets while jumping through those hoops. So we're not changing, we're not deregulating things, but we are offering a chance for those that are trying to get into the industry. So we're hoping that that can help with access. So for that reason, I want to pull these. I don't want to approve them just yet. I know this delays the approval of this rule, but I think these two pieces are pretty important. So thank you.
So I'll just add, I think this feedback and some of these suggestions is going to strengthen this role, and it's spot on. And we're happy to go ahead and rewrite, update that. It would be considered a substantive change, so we'll put it back out for public comment and then bring it back for finalization in August. And we're
Probably more like September, but no, we agree
September.
that this is something that we can add.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Great, then let's get started. Action Agenda 1, consideration of requests for public school waivers. We have the West Side Consolidated School District.
So, yeah, so this was a school district that came before this board last year asking for this particular waiver. You granted it for a year, and then you requested that they come back in a year and tell you how it's going, and so they're here to do that today, and then to request an extension. So we have their principal here.
Thank you for your time this morning. My name is Chris George, and I am the high school principal at Westside High School at Westside Consolidated School District. As Ms. Smith said, my superintendent and I, Mr. Scott Gaunt, we came here last year, I believe it was in October, for Act 1240 waiver on the teacher daily load of the 150 max of students. You asked for us to come back and have a little bit of data to present to you. So as she also said, we are hoping to have this same waiver for the next 3 years. At the time we presented last year, we were just starting our PLC processes throughout K-12, actually PK-12, in our district. And at our high school, just a refresher on our schedule, we run a kind of a modified block schedule to where we have 8 A's and B days. First, second, and third block are 90-minute class periods that meet every other day, and then fourth and fifth block are 45 minutes that meet every single day. And when we put that into practice several years ago, there were different reasons that works for us. So last year we brought kind of a concept to you. This year I think we have a proof of concept. So just recapping, our Mondays through Thursdays, this past year we have a homeroom block of time every day, a 30-minute block session in between first and second block. And we work on Mondays on some social emotional things with capturing kids' hearts. I think we're going to be starting year 4 with that this year. Tuesday we had just a homeroom time of grade checks and parent calls and that type of thing. And then Wednesdays and Thursdays is where this waiver, part of this waiver really hinges on. We would do interventions and enrichments, and I'll kind of get more into that in a minute. Friday is a fast Friday, so on our Fridays, every single class on the student schedule meets for 45 minutes. And that is where the 150 student per day load on a teacher can kind of start creeping up on us. Last year, whenever I was here talking, I thought we were going to have 5 or 6 teachers that would affect. Potentially, this could be a special education co-teaching scenario, say like our English class that has a special ed co-teacher with it. The regular ed teacher, they get credit for every student in there. Special educator with the universal, the UDL, that they can't give grades, so that doesn't go towards their case or their student load. For the 23-24 school year, what we actually had, we had 1 history teacher. We had 3 total teachers that went over 150 a day. We had a history teacher that had 154 the first semester, 155 for the second semester. Computer science teacher with 151 and 153. And then our art teacher had 172 for the first semester and 163 for the second semester. So we're doing our best to make sure that especially the core classes, they're not going to go over that 150. However, very important to note, no teacher at any time has over 30 students during a class period. So this just adds up on the Fridays, which is why we're requesting the waiver. The flexibility that this waiver gave us last year, again, it was just 3 teachers, but that is something that we need to make sure we're doing right by the teachers and ultimately right by our students. During the Fridays, we started off last year, the purpose of the Friday meeting every day Number one, over the years of our doing this modified block, every class 1 week, one class will meet 3 times, and the next week they would meet 2. So it took 2 weeks to have an equal time setting inside of that classroom. The way we're doing it now, every teacher sees every kid they have 3 times a week. So they kind of get a equalization there. But our Fridays were kind of for not necessarily tests, but kind of quick check assessments based on essential standards and skills that our teachers and their PLC team planning time, they say these are the things throughout this week, these are the essential skills or standards that we want to hit on, and then they would test at they would do a quick assessment, might be 3 questions, something that we could see, and I have in your packets that you have kind of the spreadsheets that we would use that would have green, yellow, and reds to show student proficiency as far as during those quick checks. And then the next week, our teachers would talk about it again on Monday, and they would repeat the process. Our teacher of the year last year that y'all recognized this morning, her question to us was the pacing that we were going to be doing and what our teachers would think about the pace. And at the time, I really didn't know. We knew that it would be fast and furious. It's something that's new. But here's one of our, I send out a survey on myself every year to my staff just to get their real comments about me. But part of the PLC process, one of our people said, our administration exemplified what I hope teachers do when they know and see that the administration will make adjustments to the curriculum by allowing the unit data to be placed on the master spreadsheet instead of the weekly quick checks. Admin saved the year, data is vital to our curriculum, and it should be driven by it. So that was just, we listened to our teachers. So after the first 9 weeks, we kind of slowed it down, and instead of saying has to be on a Friday, we want to put it in more naturally to where it fits inside of their week. So even with that, we had many teachers that were still using the Friday because they liked the data that was provided by the assessments. They liked the information that they could gather and go back to and talk with their department teachers. So a few data points that you have in your spreadsheet. We use a program called RTI Scheduler to get students where they're supposed to go during this 30-minute block of time on the intervention and enrichment days. Total sessions, we had 2,721 sessions created last year. And then student placements or student enrollments, we had 38,434. 17%, let me back up real quick. So on these sessions, our teachers are drafting the students. So if the student did not meet the standard that the teacher needed, they would draft somebody. So say it was my son needed an English. They didn't get the concept that week. Wednesday and Thursday, that English teacher could draft my son. So 17% were English and language arts, 13% were math, 11% social studies, 10% science, and then the rest is kind of our outside of core areas. And the core is what we are concerned about. So our core teachers may draft 6 kids. They may draft 22 kids. It's whatever they think they need to have more time with the kids that they need. And then we have different activities. I know our ROTC loved it, our basketball loved it, our drama, they were able to use some of that time to bring in and get extra practice, our band, that type of thing. So you have 2 scores, 2 student sheets that are provided to you, just showing how we track attendance with this. And then it's listed what the skill was that they were working on that week. So inside of a IEP meeting, inside of a 504 meeting, inside of any kind of parent thing where they're saying my kid needs help, we can go in and point. We've put your kid in 16% of the time they've been in an additional math. 12 times they've been inside of, whatever those basic student needs concepts that they were missing. The attendance that doesn't link up with these schools, so where one of those is like an 89%. Again, I just pulled my own kid. He was at school, he was in ROTC, they may have been off campus doing community service, that type of thing, but his teacher may have just marked him absent. Doesn't necessarily correlate to the attendance through eSchool. Department time, PLC data. As I said, our teachers meet on Monday and they're able to go through the information that they've collected through the week, have discussions about it, and then put those things into practice. We tried this past year, we've mixed up some of our grade levels of, instead of teaching an 8th grade English and then having somebody else do a 9th grade, we made it to where one taught part 8th, one taught part 9th, and the other one did the opposite. That way we could have, if you didn't just completely jive with the teacher that you had, you could go to interventions with the other teacher and maybe hear it a different way to be able to spark your mind a little bit there. We post all of this information inside our district PLC hub. You have a spreadsheet that has the links of agendas and that type of thing. So our teachers, they're not just having these meetings and doing nothing with it. Our kindergarten teachers could go in and look at the agendas. So in the summers, we may do some vertical alignment to where our middle school 7th grade teachers and our 8th grade high school teachers are getting together to talk with each other. We bring our teachers in next week. My core teachers are coming in next week for 5 days of unit planning, yearly planning for this upcoming year, to where they'll be able to go back through the skills and say, was this really what we needed to teach? Was the rigor high enough of what we needed to be doing? I've also provided a couple of, I think there was an English and I think it was a science maybe, agenda that has some data built into that of what teachers were gathering and what they were seeing. That way they could have those conversations inside of those team meetings. And to wrap this up, we, just this past week, we got some AP testing data. So we had some sessions that were catered strictly to the AP classes, so the enrichment would come in. So our AP scores this year increased by 12% on the students who were the 3+ qualifying scores. That's the highest level we've had in 5 years. So I was extremely pleased with that. We had 36 qualifying scores from 27 students, and last year we had 21. So we had a 15 qualifying score increase. That's just one of the areas of growth that we can see. Another one that I'm sorry it didn't get in your packet, but another one we just figured up yesterday was STAR diagnostic testing for our 8th through 10th grade, beginning of the year and ending of the year. So in math, kind of labeled proficient, on watch, and needed support. 8th grade math went up 9% on the proficient. And as important, we dropped by 11% in the support needed. We went from 43 to 32%. In the 9th grade math, we pretty much stayed equal from where we started at to where we ended at. 10th grade, we had an 8% increase up to 71% end of year proficiency, and the other categories dropped as well. So that was a good data point there. Language arts, really proud of this. In 8th grade, we went up 4 points on the proficient, 29% on watch. So we were pulling kids up. We went from 36% to 12% in the needed support in 8th grade English. So that's trending way down, 24 points down. 9th grade English was up 22% in proficient to 66%. So that is great growth. Also had 23% of a decrease in the support needed. So we were down to 18% there. And then 10th grade, again, we had a 15-point jump, 53%. And then we went up 8 points in the on watch and went down 25 points in the support needed. So I believe as we are looking at this kind of data, when we get Atlas testing data back, I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. I know our teachers have worked hard. I know our students have worked hard at this process and looking back at some things that we're going to change. Last year we provided 2 days on Wednesday and Thursday of the that homeroom block of time. Wednesday and Thursday was for interventions and enrichments. This year we're pushing it to 3. We'll have Monday will be the social emotional learning, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be our intervention times. Also, I want students to be able to enroll themselves in some things. Last year, as we were getting a feel of it, I just did not want to turn them loose. It is absolutely possible within the RTI Scheduler program. So that is something that we're working on, trying to get where students, I may not fit into this category needing help in math, but I feel that I need it. So they could register to go to algebra if they wanted to, or they could register to go to band or art or whatever we have set up that week. Our seniors, we have seniors who kind of have modified times that they come in and out depending on the credits that they need, the internship placements that they may have, work schedules that they're allowed to have. This past year, we kind of mandated that our seniors had to be there. I'm going to be honest, if a kid is not on campus, it's kind of hard to get them there for an enrichment time if they know that it's not an actual grade. So with the seniors, the adjustment that I'll make there this year is as long as they're in good standing with graduation and on-time credits and that type of thing, they're going to be good not to be here. They can always come if they want. But if they have any of that in jeopardy, they'll be forced to be on campus to be picking up these skills that they're lacking in. And again, teachers will have open and closed sessions that they'll be able to kind of help facilitate some of this. So the last thing I want to say, at Westside, we truly believe that the teacher is the most influential factor on student learning and achievement. And through this process, in this Act 1240, it may be 3 teachers this year, it may be 5, it may be none. But this gives us some flexibility to build our schedule in a way that we are giving time, energy, and effort to our teachers, and that's what makes it go. It doesn't matter administration what we do, we have to get the buy-in from the teachers, and you know, there is teachers who are seeing the benefits of what we're doing here. So with that, I appreciate your time, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. George. I appreciate you sharing with us and coming back again this year. So we'll start with questions to my left. Board members' questions. Ms. Keenan.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Well, I loved hearing the updates and I loved hearing the feedback from your teachers. I think this is the first time I've seen a schedule of this type in a school district where, so you're on the hourly accumulation of time, of instructional time, 1,068 hours, as opposed to the days in class, correct? So just looking at your schedule and kind of working through some math, well, first of all, let me say that the 150 waiver, I do not personally have a concern with that. So that being the agenda item, I do want to make some comments on the schedule and ask you some questions. So your students have 171 contact days with educators throughout the year, correct?
So our superintendent had that changed in the middle of last year after, I guess it was the winter weather that came along, and there was the opportunity to change some of that up. So we actually changed and it'll be that way this upcoming year with the 171 contact days based on the hourly time that we accrue.
Okay, so with that, it looks like your daily schedule is, and correct me if I'm wrong, 7:55 to 3:20, is that correct?
Yes, first bell 7:50, 3:20, so yes, 7:50, 3:20.
Which, you know, in order for those hours, for that number of days, you'd need to have 6.25 hours a day of instructional time. You know, removing lunch and travel time, that puts you right at like 6 hours and 30 minutes. So you've hit that mark. But I'm worried about the Fridays. If there are, say, 34 Fridays, 34 Fast Fridays that are assessments, enrichment, and review, it really removes those days as an opportunity to introduce new concepts. So that takes you down to like 137 days of introductory materials. I worry, having been a former math specialist, you know, even with 180 days, we could barely get through all the concepts. Are your teachers able to introduce all the concepts they want to in 137 introductory days?
So on Friday, we do not have the 30 minutes of the intervention time. So that every class is a 45 minutes there. I sent out, things to teachers asking if you have feedback, positive or negative, let me know. There was no one, and of course my assistant principal and I are in as many of those PLC meetings as we can get to, and there's never been a complaint of we can't get enough in.
Okay.
And that honestly I like the way the Atlas testing is. It's, say, with geometry. You have an end-of-course geometry test as opposed to something that was assessing what you should have already learned to what you have learned and maybe even what you haven't learned yet. So as far as we were very comfortable with the ability to get in what we need to get in. And that also, the Fridays, originally it was set to not necessarily introduce new content, but that's one of those changes we made. If you're plugging in something elsewhere, you've got a 90-minute block science class, you can get your 45 minutes on Friday to introduce stuff, and you may do the assessment in a 90 block on Monday or Tuesday.
Right.
So that kind of goes back to that more natural fit.
Yeah, and you mentioned that you still found that most teachers loved the Friday.
Yes, they did, and because they could,
it's a natural
they could get the data from the assessment. And like I said, we're not talking a unit test here. We're talking 3 to 5 questions of these are the things that Essential Standards said, this is what we're going to learn, and what did our kids get from this?
So, and I personally really like that natural transition of introduce on a Monday, check in on a Friday, reset, do the same the next week. I would argue though that that a May 15th end of school year is maybe too soon. Continue this, let it go a few more weeks. And the other concern that I have is the seniors on Friday. Understanding that they've met minimum requirements, we have an opportunity to enrich and to continue preparing them. So having something for them to come to on a Friday that, I'm not sure what that would look like for your kids, but requiring them to be present regardless of meeting the minimum.
Our seniors, we have some seniors who have internships that we run with my career coach. We have some that may come to class and get their senior English and their 4th math, and then go to work and come back later in the day for something else that they may need. We're partnering with ASU this year, the ASU Jonesboro main campus, for more concurrent options that we're trying to get. Our 11th graders can take them, but we'll keep them on campus. Our seniors, we're going to allow, it's 15 minutes down the road. You want to go in the middle of the day, take a college algebra class, we'll provide that opportunity for you to go. And we know there's a whole lot of work-based things that the population of our students, unfortunately, they need to work to help with their families. So we are making sure that they get their academics met first, and then we're providing these outside opportunities for them to go do what they need to.
Okay, good. So maybe I misunderstood. There are no situations where a student has met minimum requirements and is just off, if that makes sense.
They can have the modified schedule to where they can be released, and their parents are involved in all this. A kid can't leave if they're not 18 years old. They can't just walk out of the building. So we're in communication with parents as we're setting up schedules and that type of thing to make sure they're where they need to be.
Okay, thank you.
But I guess the question is, can they just go home and play Xbox for a few hours?
Theoretically, I would say they could. The seat time, I guess, for students, that changed however many years ago, and the block schedule when we met this, we require 24 credits to graduate. State minimum is 22. So by the time you get to a senior, if you took 8 credits every year, you're way past state minimum. You're way past what we're requesting. So our students have the opportunity. Now, do all of them take that? Probably not. I know with my own son, I'm not going to let him do that next year when he's a senior. I want him to have a job. I want him to, whatever that may be. But there are, to your question, there could be some that do that. But again, we have internship opportunities where our kids, they will, and of course that's it's graded. I mean, it's something that our career coach is working with, say the rice mill down the road, working with that person's manager or whatever it is throughout the semester. So we're doing our best to keep kids. We just know that they're gonna lose interest of being at school at all sometimes, and I have a work program for my 11th graders to where if I can get verification, say a kid works at Sonic, I get verification from their parent and from their manager. I'll let them go at 2:30 every day to get to work there as well for 11th graders.
Yeah, I don't believe in holding kids hostage in study hall or fluff classes just because so that they're in the building. But I also don't want to miss an opportunity for us to better prepare them for whatever postgraduate life looks like for them.
Absolutely.
Do you have a number on how many, first of all, how many seniors take advantage of that opportunity, meet the requirements early and are able to leave campus? And then of that number, how many are perhaps going home to play Xbox?
I do not have a number offhand on that. I know we have, we'll have some students who come in late and they don't leave once they get there. So their schedule may not start till lunch, and then they're there from 12 o'clock to 3:30 or 3:20. So as far as a specific number, I don't. Last year, I think we graduated 125-ish students. We start looking at small increases and small decreases every year of that. But we are ensuring our students have what they need, and then I can try to find that information out for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I'd be interested.
Okay, so the number leaving early,
or arriving late, the number not participating in the full day, I should say.
Not a full course load.
Mhm.
I will say
Okay.
that they're not requesting that that waiver today because that was a law change. I would like for our board at whatever point in time, I know we've talked about having a work session on school calendar, to include that in there. School districts still receive full funding for high school students who might not be doing complete coursework. And that they might have, there's some students with really amazing opportunities outside, and there's some that aren't. And so that is a continuing problem. And I just wanted to take a point of privilege to add that, because I do think there might need to be some legislative changes, or at least would hope that you all would think about that before the January session.
I'm glad you did, and I appreciate you getting us back on track.
No, I mean, but this is important information to have and to understand as we seek to understand what a school district needs. Questions to my right? I do have a question, Ms. Hunter, you go first.
I'm sorry. So, just a couple of questions. The statistics that you put forward of the improvements from the previous year to the current year is impressive. Was that, like, if you were comparing 8th graders, was that the same cohort, or was that just 8th grade of one year and 8th grade another year?
The AP would not necessarily be.
Right.
However, some of those students would have taken AP classes the year before. So you have a mix of students who left as seniors to a mix of 10th graders who come up to 11th graders.
Right.
So that's not necessarily the same. Again, when you look at through the information that AP College Board gives you, you can kind of see where we've done this number with that trend. Highest percent in 5 years that got the 3+. And quite honestly, next year, one of the things, we've had AP Computer Science that I've not really felt that we've done justice with. I think this year we had 20 kids that had a 1 in it. We are removing the AP Computer Science, which goes into our honor graduates type scenario. So we're removing that class, replacing another computer science internship or computer science, I'm lost on the word, but where they can work on their own type thing scenario. Some accredited classes for that. But so theoretically, the AP score should jump next year as well, just based on that change. And not that I'm all about numbers, but we know our kids are not performing well with this, so let's replace it with something else that they can get more benefit out of.
Right, and thank you. I do love numbers. So I guess my question was more about the math and the ELA growth that you were showing, or improvement
Off the STAR data. So
Yes.
you could look at, say, we'll use the 10th graders. You could look at the 10th grade, their scores, and track it diagonally
Yes.
to get to 9th grade to see
Yes.
what they did in 8th grade. Yes.
And that was the
Yes.
growth that you were showing,
Yes.
the improvement that you were
Yes,
talking
so
about.
the-
Okay.
Now,
I didn't know if it was
it would be
linked.
based on 9th graders' score last year to 9th graders' score, but you could get the connection of how they progressed as they went to the next grade.
Okay, thank you. And then just one other question, completely different subject, but, I remember you being here in October. Can't believe it was almost a year, but, as I remember, and I may not be understanding this correctly, but, students, whenever they're drafted for, intervention, if they're not drafted, then they have the opportunity for enrichment. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so I guess my concern with that model is, are there students that never get a chance for enrichment, and what does that do to them? Makes them sad?
No, not necessarily. Quite honestly, a kid would probably rather be in an enrichment in art as opposed to math of having to do what they need to do. But that's one of the things where this year where we open it up to students to be able to draft them, not they're selecting where they want to go.
Sure.
But we had some issues with, I may have some teachers that didn't get their kids drafted on time.
Mm-hmm.
So my assistant principal and I would go through and pull those kids out, and I would go in and say, okay, this kid, this past week, I see they've got zeros in a class. I could strategically place them where I wanted. Where you have some study areas that are once we get down to the main interventions are full as the teachers want them, the extra enrichment time places, they have what they have, and we may still have 100 kids left, 150 kids left. Well, we can go in and strategically place, we'll use iExcel in some of our places. We want our kids reading, so I don't want a kid sitting there on their cell phone.
No.
Sometimes that does happen, and there's more out there on cell phones that drive every high school principal nuts.
We have a solution for that.
Our superintendent talked to us yesterday about it. So that is one of the places that we're still we're going into year 2 of this process. So we anticipate working some things out as we go, and I'm hoping that as we give some kids some ownership of where they can go this year, that we'll kind of rectify some of that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just concerned about if the kid never gets to do enrichment, and they feel like they're constantly being drafted. And I mean, they have some control over that, right? But, I don't know. You've answered my question. Thank you.
So I am generally pretty skeptical of block scheduling. I don't like it as a parent. But you've presented some information today, some statistics that I can't really dive into and kind of find what I might perceive as holes. So I'm just going to be impressed with what you've said. But how do you correlate the improvement being related to the actual block schedule as opposed to some other factor? Because what would your argument be that this schedule is what has resulted in the improved academic progress that you've talked about?
I don't believe it's the block schedule that's done it. Block schedule, we've used that probably for 10 plus years now. That was started when I was dean of students at our middle school. So all the work that went in and decisions that were made at that point, I kind of came in and we've had block schedule. Our teachers like it, our kids like it. I brought my own son from another district the year He turned into 9th grade after his brother graduated in the other district. So he came over with me, went from a traditional 8-period day, I think what they had, to the kind of the alternating 3 and 2 day that we have. You know, the benefits of being in that block for, say, a science class, it's lab time. You can split up and do particular labs that you need to do. But it gives the kids sometimes a break from, I've been hammering so hard, say, in math. Well, I get the day off where I may get my homework done and I can concentrate on something else. One of the things we've looked at, our superintendent last year, I believe, when we were talking about this scenario, he was talking about trying to get back to a 7-period day. When we look at the number of kids that we have, the number of teachers we have, we cannot pull a 7-day period off at this point, just because we are very financially stable. We use our money appropriately. We don't have a bunch of extra people hired. So if we tried to get back to a 7-period day, we would really have to start looking at being over 150 in many classes.
But
so the block is not the thing. It's the 30 minutes of additional targeted intervention time. We still have our regular RTI intervention time as well, to where if students are, say, in the bottom 15% or whatever, we have times throughout the day where they get pulled from, say, PE to go for whatever what they need in whoever's on prep period. They've got 90-minute times of block prep. Well, 45 of that is prep and 45 of that is help for students if needed. So we have multiple ways to get kids more targeted help.
Okay.
But the 30 minutes that we've added here, that's not necessarily part of the waiver, but the 30 minutes, it's moving to 3 times a week to where kids have that targeted intervention in the lack of standard and skill that they've been working on in that class. That's where I'm hoping our growth is showing the correct thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to argue that I think it's fantastic that you've worked in this targeted time for intervention that's drafting students to come do that. I think that's important. I guess as I sit here and digest what y'all are doing, I don't know what the argument would be counter to what you're presenting. I'm impressed with what you've come with. I'm impressed that it seems to be working. I'm still skeptical of block scheduling, but I would love, honestly, to continue to hear from you all and how this works, a year from now, when you have Atlas testing reporting that you can decipher. And anyway, I'd love for you to try to convince me that block scheduling is helpful.
Seems like I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
'Cause you're the one that said this last year too, that you wanted us to come back and whatever. So if that's what you need, I'll be happy to come back as much as you need me to.
Okay, may I clarify that on your waiver request form, you stated the duration would be the 2025 school year and going forward. Are you asking for a specific
3 years.
timeline?
So when I originally turned this in,
Okay.
I didn't realize there was a 3-year option.
Okay.
I had going forward, if possible, on there.
Okay.
And then whoever my person that I was emailing back and forth told me that there was a
So it's a
3-year
three-year
availability
request.
of it. So that is what we would prefer, but we could also, and again, last year this helped with 3 teachers.
Okay.
So we can do what you need to.
And when you're seeking the class side and teaching load waiver, I know there's a law that requires districts to pay teachers per student if they go over. Are you getting your waiver?
This waiver eliminates that.
Eliminates that.
Yes,
And is
we,
that something?
and we covered all of that with our teachers last year.
Okay.
And said, this is why we're seeking this waiver, this is what the issue would be. Art is the one that sticks out to you. The art teacher and Secretary Oliva chimed in last year that as a non-core elective type class, you have to have a certain amount of credit of fine arts type thing, but that number was not, I don't want to speak for you, does yes, that's not concerning. And again, our teachers on Friday, somebody sits in that chair for 45 minutes, somebody else sits in that chair for 45 minutes. It's never over 30 in a classroom.
At a
So
time,
on a
yeah.
Monday, one kid sat there for 90 minutes as opposed to 2 for 45.
Okay.
So
I would like to ask the question, of the agency on that, though. In law, it does state if you have over 150 students, you could be compensated per student. So do you even need a waiver to go over 150? And is this waiver just to request, to waive that compensation?
That's a good question. So I think that the whole premise of this is if they don't need a waiver to go over 150. They need the waiver it's for the payment of the teachers, not to have to pay.
Okay.
And then we do have situations in which we have large class size and things that automatically go over 150. But I think when you're talking about art like this, that's why it's categorized in this 150 cap. But when they're talking about it for enrichment and bringing those other kids in, that's where they're getting over their numbers.
So what is the cap that, that 150 is the sort of soft cap? What, is there a hard cap?
There is not one.
Okay, and that's just whatever, if a district chose to go above and beyond and they paid for it, that doesn't get flagged in standards of accreditation or anything?
No.
Okay, so if we were to, I'm not making a motion, I'm the chair, so
No,
I'm not
it
trying to
would
wait,
get
but if
flagged.
we
a
weren't to
teacher-
approve
okay,
this.
I'm sorry, if it does get flagged. So if a school district is over 150, it would get flagged. But the school district then would have to show the
That they
compensation piece.
compensated.
Mhm.
So if we weren't to approve this, they could continue on as is, they would just have to compensate. Is that fair?
I'm playing my nighttime role as an attorney, and I'm not sure.
And I think, again, this is something, because I know we've had numerous waivers on class size, and that came up with school calendar too, that I would like for us to, sort of have those continuing conversations to get more understanding of.
Well, again, and this goes into, and this is a place where probably Secretary will leave at times, it's like, what, y'all have so many rules on this number and this number and this number. This is why we are looking at the class size rules, trying to figure out how does that look for flexibility, what are some legislation pieces that maybe we need to change. Again, this board has seen lots of waivers for one student over, but yet then we're putting a kid in a bus and sending them across town to another school. What was the best choice, putting the kid on the bus or letting them go one over? And so I think when we're getting to discussions like this, for how many students is a teacher responsible for on her class list for grades, is it the 150? That's what we've always had in standards, that's what we have in legislation. So we're having more conversations around that. So I agree with you, we do need to make some clarifications for that, and hopefully that's something that we can address this legislative session as well.
Thank you.
Can I clarify, so Arkansas Connections Academy has the waiver to not pay their teachers for the additional students, is that right?
So digital's different, so that would be an exception. Virtual schools don't have the 150 minimum piece.
Well, then how
Class size with virtual is completely different, yeah.
What?
Class size with virtual schools is
Well,
different.
no, I understand that. I guess my question is, why is the waiver based on the waiver being granted to Arkansas Connections Academy?
Well, again, that's old legislation and policy. Before, you used to have to cite a school district or a charter school that had the waiver if you were going to ask for the waiver. There was legislation that passed that no longer requires a charter school to have that waiver to be able to ask for it.
Oh.
And so that's probably an old form or
Yeah.
just the side of that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Board members, additional questions or comments?
Okay, maybe I'm not understanding correctly, but if we do not grant the waiver, and I think you asked this, but I want to clarify. If we do not grant the waiver, nothing will change for your district except those teachers will be compensated for the additional students. Is that correct? I see that as a beautiful thing.
I'm not going to say that. I mean, I feel like everybody's looking at me.
Yeah.
but
Well, I'm looking around, yeah.
I don't know the answer to this.
So the waiver that's before you is a waiver of standards. It's not a waiver of the statutes. So on the front page, it's just simply citing to the standards. So what you're granting today is the enforcement of going over the class size and teaching them for those classes. Nothing else. Nothing else is before you today. Now, if there's a question about compensation, that's a question that the school district needs to consider with their council because that's not what they brought before you today. Does that answer the question?
Yes, what would be essentially, if we don't grant this and they do not change nothing changes for the district, what would their consequence be with standards? That would be a violation against the standard of accreditation?
Then there may be a finding that they're violating a particular standard.
Okay. Sorry if I phrased that.
I did confirm with Ms. Warsham, if a district flags for the 150, they then have to submit evidence that they compensated the teacher for the flag to be removed.
Oh, okay. Do you know what that price, what that would look like financially for you?
I honestly don't. I think last year when we met, I had some figures, after speaking with one of your representatives, that I was working it through, but I have no idea what that was at the time. And again, I mean, you would be talking, I guess, it's on Friday, so I don't know if that takes into account a fifth, because it's not like they're over 150 per week or per class every day. It's, you just may go over one or two on Friday because every class meets.
And I would also point out, and this is piggybacking on the notion of the not extracurricular, but the elective classes being larger than others. And specifically, I think about maybe band. There's not a band director in Arkansas that doesn't want the largest band he can get to be on the football field on Friday nights. And so they're more than, if they want 300 kids, if they can get 300 kids. So the idea that you would double their salary, or that you would have to double their salary, I think that would be a little onerous. So there would need to be some sort of consideration made that that's not the same as a math teacher having, one-to-one compensation.
One thing that I would encourage, so this is something they did last year. I think if there was a huge complaint or concern about it, you would have folks here with that. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Two, I think this is a great opportunity for the board to maybe do a visit to this district in the fall, actually talk to the teachers, get on site and see. This could also lead to the discussion of any changes we do want to make in the school class size rules that would be coming up. So that may be something that you might want to consider, is to approve it and be able to then plan for a visit, and let's go visit and talk to folks, and that would assist you then in future decisions.
And maybe it would be a good day to have a work session on
School calendar, class size, yeah, and because it's all interconnected.
And maybe after they have Atlas data to discuss.
Yeah, and these have all been impacted by various laws over the past few years, and some districts might not even realize where they could land. Questions, comments, board members? Or open the floor for a motion.
I would love just a little bit of direction about the compensation related to an art teacher, because if I heard you correct, I think in there, at some time, maybe 21 students over the 150 mark. I don't know if I have that information. I thought it was in the 170s.
I've got something that will show you his daily pop period. Give me just 1 second for me to locate that.
I think when you start getting into these salaries, you have to remember that with LEARNS, we're giving local control over how the district chooses to compensate their educators as long as they meet those minimum salary requirements. So it's going to look different in every district. The spirit behind the rule of 150 is if you're a teacher on a 7-period day, you're expected to teach 6 periods, 25 students in a class, you're going to have 150 students. Why they're saying you should get compensated for going above that is because you have a lot of school districts, they may need to compensate the educator to give up their planning period and teach a 7th period. That's what that statute and those rules are referring to, and on how they quantify a teacher giving up their planning so that they can get compensated, because they're going to go over potentially the 150 students a day. So when you look at that average teacher load being within 150 students, plus or minus a few, your still average teacher load is going to be, especially for a core content area, asking an educator to give up their planning, they should get compensated because they're teaching an extra section. And that's really the spirit behind they're saying you're gonna get flagged, because we want to see, are you teaching additional sections and being compensated for that? Going over a couple students is why we don't have an issue with this waiver request as an agency, is a different conversation. But then to your point, if the band teacher has 200 students, if they fit in the band room, they're not gonna have 200 students every period. There's not 2,000 kids taking band. So they may have a couple other periods where they're doing maybe small group or additional planning or working with the brass instruments. But during that one time where the whole concert band comes together, it's gonna look and feel different. That's why schools need to have that flexibility and design schedules and compensation salary schedules that work best for them, because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
He's got 16
Mhm.
in one, so it's
I think the whole board could benefit from maybe hearing this.
Okay.
This is about the art teachers.
This is specific to the art teacher, and I really think it was something that I submitted before that had the breakdown of my 3 teachers. So for the art teacher, we're gonna use A days here. So it's a Monday or a Wednesday. The art teacher had 16, so there was a mix of art 2, 3, and 4 all together. He had 22 students, first block. He had 26 students, second block. Third block, he had 27 students. Fourth block is his prep, so he has no students. And then fifth block, he had 24. So when you do that math, it's well below 150. And then same thing on the B days, it would be equivalent to that. Then you mix those all together though to get what we're doing with our Fast Friday, that's where he goes over. But it's for 45 minutes, he has a student that was an A day. For the next 45 minutes, he has a student that was a B day.
I see.
Yeah, it's just
I see.
throughput.
Yeah.
It's just throughput.
But again, daily, they're not over that in the
Yeah.
traditional sense.
All right.
Additional questions, comments, or floor is open for a motion?
I appreciate the focus on the intent of the accreditation standard. That sort of clarified a lot of my concerns. So I move that we accept get the wording right, the request, where was it? Sorry.
Waiver requests.
The waiver
Yeah.
request, there we go, we'll simplify it. I was trying to get the exact wording, but,
And then you'll
okay.
need the time
Clarify.
period.
Yes, to clarify on my part, 3 years that we were requesting or the 1 year.
You can put that in your motion.
I'm a fan of 1 year. Okay, so I move that we accept the request for a waiver for 1 year.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Keener to accept the 1240 waiver request for 1 year. Is there a second?
Second?
Questions or comments? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
at your
George.
request, we'll be happy to come back next year and get more data.
And we want to come see you before then. So
That will be
thanks.
absolutely fine.
I love a good tour.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, up next, we have the consideration of a boundary change by the Prairie Grove School District, and I believe I have seen, let's see, Superintendent Spears from Lincoln online and Superintendent Campbell from Prairie Grove. Can you all hear us okay from Lincoln
Yes.
and Prairie Grove?
Yes.
Great. Do you want to get started, and then we will swear them in, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, Chair, members of the board, I'm going to just provide a quick update. I know the school districts are on the Zoom call, but they're currently working on a memorandum of understanding between the school districts to provide for attendance to Prairie Grove schools for the affected households, as well as transportation. That memorandum is written, has been drafted, it has not been presented to the two school boards to be ratified. So there's really nothing to be reviewed by you today. I would recommend that we just simply table this item for August so that you actually have something to look at. It's my understanding that the Prairie Grove School District would agree to withdraw its petition if both districts were to agree to the memorandum. So,
Okay, so with that, we're not, you're saying your recommendation is not to have a hearing today? Can we still,
yeah,
do we need to still hear from the school districts? Secretary?
you certainly may. They're available.
Board members, would you like to hear from the school districts? Okay, we have something in our folder that was presented to us.
And that's the draft. That's just not
Okay,
fully
that's the
executed.
draft, and that was made by their districts, is that
So,
correct?
yeah, the Prairie Grove School District contracted with an attorney, they've put that together, and they've presented it to the Lincoln Consolidated School District for consideration.
Okay. Board members, questions?
I would be more than happy to just move this to August, to not waste everyone's time discussing it again today, and then just to hear from them again in August.
Okay, so what is a proper motion for
It'll just be,
Mr. Wood to make?
just move to table to
Table?
this
Okay.
item to the August agenda.
Okay. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Wood to table the item till August, a second by Ms. Keener. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, superintendents, for joining us today. We will move along to rules. We have a number of rules today. First up is Braille and large print textbook.
Okay, so these are rules that are being released for public comment. The only changes, these are rules that were pre-existing rules. They are for large print and Braille. And the only changes that were made was in special language to the appropriation, and that is in section 7. And then other items that were changed were basically some formatting things and regulation pieces. But this is a great opportunity to talk and share and introduce to you someone new. Nicole Walsh, who's right here on the front row. I'm going to let her come up. She is the newly hired superintendent for the School for the Deaf. I will tell you that when she interviewed with Secretary Oliva and I got to come over and meet her, I was blown away. We are extremely fortunate to have Ms. Walsh take the helm of the School for the Deaf and be creating a partnership with the School for the Blind and take this school forward, because we have lots of big plans, and she is the one who's bringing those plans and is going to actually implement them and make them come to life. So I'm going to let her come up and just tell you a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I have to start off by saying, having recently moved here and gotten started, I am 9 days in. But everyone has been so welcoming and wonderful, and I truly feel like Arkansas is our home. So we're so fortunate to be here. Oh, thank you. I'm a little tall. Okay. So I just appreciate having a moment to introduce myself and meet all of you. I was so honored to be chosen to lead the Arkansas School for the Deaf back in April. I'm officially 9 days in, but we have been working and planning with the help of Dr. Barnes and many other people at ADE for months at this point. With extensive background in both as a teacher of the deaf, teacher of the blind, visually impaired, and as an administrator for programs for district-wide services and statewide services, I am so excited to have the opportunity to really take the helm, make big changes with the way things have been going over at the Arkansas School for the Deaf, coordinate with the Arkansas School for the Blind, and really create a beacon for services for the state of Arkansas for every student, regardless of whether they are at our residential programs or out in their public schools. ASD is such a special place. Our boots on the ground are extremely dedicated educators who want and have a passion for the students with sensory impairments. And so they are hungry to improve their services and their supports and instruction. And it's my goal to help lead our school to making those positive changes and becoming absolutely the best school that we can be and a beacon for the nation. I would love to have schools come and visit us because they want to see what great things we're doing. That starts with our early intervention services, all the way up through our CTE programs and our postgraduate services that we're providing to students who are not quite ready to step out into the world just yet. So we look forward to partnering in all areas of ADE to improve practices, support our families, grow students who are successful in whatever that may mean for each of them, and moving forward with all of those kinds of things. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I truly appreciate it. I can't wait to get to know all of you more. Do you have any questions for me?
Awesome. Welcome to Arkansas. Thank you
you.
for your service. We're excited to be here, and we're excited our board has not had much depth of contact with the schools, and I know that we'll be happy to partner with you all to support you in the work that you're doing.
I look
Board
forward to a
members,
wonderful partnership.
questions, comments?
I know that the school has been the subject of some focus of legislators and whatever, and there's been some tours and whatnot, site visits by legislators, but I would love for us to get to go on a tour, maybe on a Friday in the fall, so that we could then go see the Def Leopards play.
Team this year, that's right.
Play some football. I would love that. I would love to come see
That's a
it.
perfect point. It is our 175th year in service this year, so we're super excited to celebrate that honor, and we're gonna have all kinds of really great things. We're already planning some really great banquets and a museum tour, so I would love to have you guys come. Our homecoming is gonna be September the 28th, I believe. I'll double check on that date and make sure. But I would love for you guys to join us at that celebration and come meet our community and get to know everyone that's there and working so hard for our students.
That's cool. Where are you from?
Florida.
Oh, cool.
Mhm,
All right.
yeah.
Well, welcome.
He looks very
It's
proud
like-
over there. One of your own.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
We want that school.
All these people from Florida moving to Arkansas.
I'm telling you, listen, we've got our own beaches here, right?
Yeah, right.
Arkansas River's great.
That's
I
right.
was there yesterday, thank you very much.
We want the School for the Deaf, the School for the Blind to be a school of choice for our blind and deaf and hard of hearing students throughout the state. And we truly believe that Superintendent Walsh is the one to be able to lead that and make it be a school of choice. The rules that I've presented for you highlight the actual instructional resource center that is housed at the School for the Blind. That allows for any student throughout the state who has a visual impairment to have access to textbooks, either in Braille or large print. And so these rules outline that process. So I'd ask at this time that the board approve the request to release these for public comment.
Questions, board members? I think it would be awesome if we did do a visit. I would love to hear more about what services are provided to students who choose to stay in their local district. So I'm excited about supporting you all further and learning more. Okay, floor is open for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we release these rules for public comment.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Rollins. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Questions or comments? We'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate reading just through the rules and how educational it was for me to really think about the process and the needs of these students, and I appreciate that. And can you introduce yourself, because
Come on, Chris.
Well, it was not my plan to get up here and speak with you this morning, but I'm Dr. Chris Barnes. I work with the Office of Coordinated Support and Service here at the agency, and I have been working with the School for the Blind and Deaf for the past year and trying to organize and support those schools.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you both for coming today.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And I just want to add, welcome Nicole to the team, even though she says technically she started July 1st, but once we knew she was coming, I think I probably called her about every other day. So she's been very busy over the last few months.
We started like the day after.
Yeah, I was like, I got a long list for you. I just need to let you know how this is going to work. But I think we're really excited, and in fact, Nicole's going to start doing some strategic planning with their board. So setting up a visit and a tour, I think the timing of this is really going to work well, because the long-term plan is we have to make that not just a world-class educational opportunity, we're going to make it a world-class facility as well. So we're in the current process right now of acquiring architects and contractors and rolling out about a 3-year plan to completely transform the look and feel of the School of Deaf and Blind, as well as elevate accelerated opportunities for all the students that attend that campus. And then part of that is we're identifying even greater opportunity for students across the state that could benefit from deaf and blind services, but the reality of them being able to come here or be a full-time resident, it's just not really what's in the best needs of their educational needs and opportunities. So part of this conversation is building out resource hub centers. Like we're looking at establishing something in the Northwest area so that we can strengthen direct services in students that require extra attention are actually able to get it. So we're going to re-emphasize the main campus here, but we're also going to have satellite campuses of this school, and we're going to be able to support students even greater. And this is a plan that's is still kind of being developed. We're working with their board, but we want this board to be a part of that conversation as well. And we're going to need to work coherently. We shouldn't just coexist. We should work together in coherence, because this is about making sure that every student in this state, regardless of geographic location or program need, has the opportunity to be fully accelerated and be successful beyond high school and beyond. So we're really excited that the robust, deep conversations, and poor Chris he's been kind of on the campus for about the last year, planning the logistics and coordination and all the moving parts, and so thank you for everything you've done for the families and students.
Yes, sir. The ultimate goal is to truly build a continuum of services where every family has a choice to make the right decision for their student, whether that's in their public schools, in a maybe day program for our resource hubs, being supported within their own environment, whatever that looks like, or our residential program, and truly feeling like parents have an option. And we do that by starting with our small campus over there, but then also really building out our hubs and making those a true support system for every school district in Arkansas. Thank you.
Thank you so much again for coming in. That's great. So we'll move on to the next agenda
I
item.
still need a motion.
Oh.
On the rules.
Oh, we did it.
Oh, we did it?
Yeah. We got it.
Did we vote?
Yep.
Oh,
we did.
You sure?
I wrote it down.
That's wrong.
I knew we said motion.
We have a collective memory.
It was Kathy.
Okay, they voted.
It's
Never
Kathy and
mind.
Mr. Henderson. Yeah. So
Okay,
those
I
rules
told you
are-
it was a long week at the conference.
They're released for public comment. Now we're on to item number 4, which will be final approval for rules. And one of those, C, was pulled. So just A and B.
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Just keep you on your toes, making sure you knew what was happening. All right. I just feel better that Jeff didn't know any more than I did.
I still don't, I'm still not convinced we voted.
You had a motion by
For the
Kathy,
record, I'm in favor.
second by Randy, and it
But
was
I don't remember the
unanimous.
vote.
Yes, it was a unanimous vote.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
All right.
yes. I trust Angela.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. The next set of rules are for final approval, and the ones that you're seeing here is the Educational Freedom Account rules. Those were on the board last agenda. You released them. But going back through and looking at a comment from, I guess it was VLR, on clarifying participants, they made a clarification that we went back and added to those rules. It is more in line with specific to legislation. So it was not substantive. It was really just clarifying the language piece. And so we're back today to ask for those for final approval. Then they'll go back to ALC. And then also asking for final approval, the licensure rules. We've done workshops on both of those rules with you. You have seen them before you. This will be your second time. Third with the EFA rules. And so I'm asking for a motion to approve those 2 rules for final approval.
I just had one quick question. I know that there's a transition right now between the vendors and for the EFA accounts. Do we have an update on when it will be reopened for applications?
Daryl Smith, Assistant Commissioner for Office of School Choice. To answer your question, yes, at this point we anticipate opening up for schools, being able to onboard into the new system next week, so our week after that, July 22nd, and families should be able to start by July 29th.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet.
More questions, board members? To my left? To my right? Yeah, Ms. Rollins.
And this goes in with the rule, but people will comment, and then it's a legislative item. So the comment is, it's a legislative change. What does the department do about that? When you see that, gee, that might be a good change, but it's a legislative change, at what point do you take that on to the legislature? What is the process?
So actually internally right now, the department is making, we're all actually making suggestions and lists that we're submitting to the Secretary's office for changes that need to be made. We're having internal conversations. Those conversations then will also be had with the governor's office in determining what our legislative suggestions are as we're moving forward. So we do that. There are times, especially with the school choice rules that you guys have seen before, where we saw that there's some overlap there. You know, that's definitely on our list. And then, so we take note of that. And it's also opportunities too. Public comment a lot of times tells us to where we need to make sure and get out and do training, educate people that this is why this is the way it is or what the reasoning is behind that.
I think that's what's hard is when you see, well, it's a legislative change, and then where does it go? And I think, like you said, educating the public. Yes, we are listening, and yes, it may cause a legislative change, and we'll be working on that, so.
Right,
yeah.
right. No, I appreciate that comment.
Thank you.
Mhm.
More questions, board members? Ms. Keener? Questions? Okay, floor is open for a motion then.
I move we approve both rules.
Second.
Oh, wait, did you say both?
Yes.
Okay, so
Can
this
we
is-
do,
Okay, so this is item number 4. There's been a motion by Ms. Keener to approve the Education Freedom Account Program rules and the educator licensure rules. Second by Ms. Hunter. Questions or comments? We'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next on our list is a school choice appeal. Mr. Rhodes.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Before you is a school choice appeal by Ms. Casey Alvey, appealing the decision of the Harmony Grove School District to deny a school choice application on behalf of one of her children. She originally applied for school choice for both of her children. One of her children was allowed to go into the school district, and the other one was denied on the basis that it would require the school district to add teachers, staff, or classrooms. Harmony Grove School District provided that decision in writing, and she is now appealing it to you. So in terms of process, same process as usual. The chair will place everyone that will speak before you under oath. Every party will have 20 minutes to speak. After that, the state board will grant or deny the appeal based on the totality of the evidence presented to you, and which will give you 3 options. You can either overturn the decision of the school district and grant the petition for a school transfer, well, not transfer, but school choice. You can affirm the school district and then in their decision of denying the school choice application, or you can table that decision for a future meeting. Once you've reached a decision, we'll put an order in writing, which will be signed by the chair, and that will be the official action of the board.
Thank you. So anyone who is going to speak on behalf of the school district or the family that's not an attorney, please raise your right hand. Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Thank you. So Mr. Rhodes, who's up first?
The parent, Ms. Alvey, will go first.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Casey Alvey. I'm a mother of 3 children, Grants Alvey, Gannon Alvey, and Gentry Alvey. I'm here today because I applied for the school choice to Harmony Grove for both of my sons, one of whom is autistic, one of whom is not. We're originally from Hampton, which is a great school. I love that school. However, they chose to do year-round schooling this year, and I thought that it would be in my son's best interest to attend Harmony Grove School. When we applied for the Harmony Grove School District, I put both of my sons' name on the paper together, and my typical son was approved, but my neurotypical son was denied. And it was stated that it was because he would need a paraprofessional. He struggles with getting places on his own, but he's very smart.
You're okay, thank you. If you need a minute, it's okay. Yeah. We completely understand, and we've had lots of families before our board today. We appreciate you advocating on behalf of your students and family.
So I'll present the case as best as I can without advocating for either party, just present you the facts as we know them. Again, as one of the items that was presented to you was the letter from Harmony Grove to Ms. Alvey here. In the letter, they stated that the rules do not require to add staff, which is true. The rules do not require that, but that's generally as to traditional students. At the end of the day, the rules also state that a school district receiving transfers on the Public School Choice Act of 2015 shall not discriminate on the basis of gender, national origin, race, ethnicity, religion, or disability. And so, while the disability may not have been listed on the letter, if the basis for denying the school choice transfer is because that particular student, who being neuroatypical and may be on the autism spectrum, requires a paraprofessional, then the decision made by the school board may be hinged on that individual's disability. Again, the rules and the statutes are pretty clear, and that school districts cannot discriminate on the basis of disability. And so, if I'm understanding correctly, her appeal to you is that while this letter and the rules correctly do not require a school district to hire additional staff for a traditional student, it does not obviate the need for them to comply with federal law and state requirements that they provide required services to special needs students.
Thank you. Ms. Alvey, is there anyone else that you'd want to speak on your behalf?
The only thing that I ask is that if you do make a decision, you make it today.
On the microphone, make a
Because
decision today, yeah.
Yes, please, because if he does need an aide, it does take time
Mhm.
to get those aides. And with Hampton starting back at July 24th, I believe it is,
Mhm.
it would leave us a very small window
Mhm.
to try and find what he needed. Other than that, I think that covers everything. I'm so sorry.
No, you're wonderful. Thank you for being here and for sharing.
Thank you.
We will allow, now do we allow the non-resident or the resident school district first?
The non-resident school district is the one that took action, so they would go next. And then if you wanted to hear from the resident school district, they could go after.
So Harmony Grove School District.
I'm Sharon Hale. I'm the Special Programs Coordinator or Administrator at Harmony Grove. Our superintendent is recovering from surgery, so he is not here today. And I'll let Ms. Cheatham introduce herself.
I'm Jennifer Cheatham. I'm the Special Ed Director at Harmony Grove.
We denied it based on the fact that we're going to have to hire staff to accommodate his needs. We did not see it as discrimination. So.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay. Okay, thank you. We'll allow any comments from the resident school district.
Matt Scarborough, Superintendent at Hampton. The resident school district would just say this. We had I won't say his name because I know we're live streaming, but the young man with autism, we did not dismiss the aid that we had for him last year. We still have him on staff, so if the board decides he's come back, we just make a switch and we're ready to go. However, the Hampton School District will say this: Harmony Grove is a fantastic school. They're just under us, I think, but that's biased opinion, I'm sure. But we will be happy to support Casey and her children if they decide to go to Harmony Grove and the board allows that. we will also love him, and we are the Bulldogs. We will wag our tails if he comes back. Be happy to have him. We love him. We have the ability to take him immediately if we need to, but we will honor the board's decision either way, and we will support the family either way. This decision is based on her scheduling for her young man, and what we've decided to do as a district with year-round. This isn't a problem between us and the district. We love Casey, and we love our kids, and either way, we'll support the family. Okay?
Thank you, Superintendent Scarborough. We appreciate you coming in today. Yes, you may.
After, it's been a couple of months of where I've been considering this, and when I began, it was, I did want what was best for my boys, and, I still love Hampton. I think it's great. It kind of just turned into more of, I know that the other district does not feel like they are discriminating, but that was the reason I pressed forward with this, is because I feel like if someone comes behind us, I don't think that they should have to come all the way up here to Little Rock just to get the point across. It should be known that special people deserve school choice too.
Thank you, Ms. Alvey. At this point, we'll open the floor for questions from board members. I'll go to my right first. Questions, Mr. Henderson?
What does the law or Department of Education indicate? They said they would have to hire someone based on resources. I'm curious to know, is that something that we govern or mandate? Someone elaborate on that for me?
So when you look at a child that enrolls in a school, and you look at the funding that's associated with the child, there's many different factors that carry on different weights in the different dollars that would follow the student. So students that have additional needs and supports, they may get additional funding. This is discrimination. I'm just gonna say it. You cannot deny a student because they have a disability. And if there's additional funding that's associated by the receiving district, they take that on. You also can't control who moves into your neighborhoods. You can't control who moves into your home zone school districts. School districts need to be ready to embrace the many wonderful opportunities that our children bring us each and every single day, regardless of the background, additional layers of support they need. That's why our public schools are gonna continue to excel, because we're gonna get this right. And this is something that in our agency, my recommendation is that we would grant that waiver, and we would wanna see this child thrive and be in a school district that's willing and ready to get the supports needed to support that child.
Thank you.
To my left, questions or comments? I believe last summer we had a case that was similar, unfortunately. Mr. Wood.
Well, I am a graduate of Harmony Grove High School, class of 1998. And Ms. Hale, it's good to see you again. It's been a number of years. She was my GT teacher when I was in high school. It's good to see you again. I am going to vote against you today, okay? I'm going to support the student's transfer request. I think that it's clear that there is a shift in thinking among school choice and students and parents having the right and the empowerment to go to school where they want to go to school. And anytime I can support that, I want to do so. It's certainly, I mean it, no offense to Harmony Grove, and I take exception with what the Hampton superintendent had to say, because I remember beating Hampton in football just about every time we played when I was in school there. But other than that, I look forward to supporting the student, and I hope to hear that it's a fantastic, that your child has as good of an experience at Harmony Grove as I had.
With that, would you like to make a motion? The floor is open for a motion.
Well, I wanted to say one more thing, that as a mother of 3 children myself, I understand how, and I think any parent in here knows that when you send your child into the world, you send a little piece of your heart out there with them. And with that comes all the big feelings. So please know that you are well understood here. And I want to also maybe highlight the benefits of, in early childhood, we call it a mixed delivery system, where neurotypical and neurodivergent children learn together. The benefits are research-based, they are proven, and it is a beautiful thing for both communities. So I look forward to seeing those benefits in your school district. So anybody want to? I guess let me read it. I make a motion that we approve the is that right? The transfer. Excuse me. The what's the wording here? Sorry, it's a. They're
So-
appealing the rejection.
So,
it's double
right,
negative.
so it would be a motion to approve the petition to grant, to overturn, well, I guess, this is where it's starting to get
Yeah.
wordy, right? It's a motion to approve the petition to overturn the Harmony Grove School District's denial of the school choice petition.
That's the motion I made.
Okay.
So moved.
So moved. So, Ms. Skeeter has a motion to approve the transfer of the student.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Mr. Wood. Questions or comments? We'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you, and thank you again, Ms. Olaby, for coming in and advocating for having your student. So we actually just have one more agenda item, action item left. Let's do that and then consent agenda, and then we'll take a break. Is that okay?
I have a much easier motion for us, okay? Yes.
Triple negative. Yeah.
Daryl Smith, again, Assistant Commissioner of the Office of School Choice. Last month, you all approved 23 accrediting organizations for the EFA program that private schools could be accredited by. And we mentioned last time that we would bring some additional agencies this month. In your package, you'll see 5 additional agencies that we would like to add to the approved list, and they're asking for your approval today.
Thank you. Board members to my left, questions or comments? To my right, questions or comments? Okay, floor is open for a motion then. I appreciate you making
You bet.
the
Thank you.
accommodation.
Move to approve.
All right, there's a motion by Ms. Hunter to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Bragg. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
With that, that's the end of our action agenda. Is there any new business to be brought to the action agenda? Okay, we will move to the consent agenda. Are there any items that members would like to pull from the consent agenda to discuss or to hear at a later date? I'll give you a second just to be sure. We did have a pretty hefty consent agenda today. Okay, with that, then the floor will be open for a motion to approve the consent agenda unless there's someone that wants to pull an item.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Hunter to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Henderson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Let's go ahead and take a break here. We'll come back at 11:15 to start our report section. all good?
Every 2 years.
So we're gonna start with Stacy. What's
She's gonna do an update on, the services, because they're
We're on. Great. We will get back started on our report section. First up, Ms. Smith, you're presenting on the Blytheville School District.
Okay, wanted to share some information with you specifically about the Blytheville School District and just some direct support that we are having, and also some concerns that we feel like need to be brought to the attention of this board. So Blytheville School District is in the northeast tip of Arkansas. In 2014, the district actually had over 2,300 students. That was back in 2014. 10 years later, they have about 1,300. So whenever you have a district that has declined in terms of just their residential population and enrollment numbers in a school, it creates human capital issues, it creates financial challenges for the district and the community as a whole. So this is one of the things, as we're talking about some of the things that are happening and some concerns that we have with the district today, that in itself has been one of the things that has caused some of these things, okay? We were contacted back in January by the cooperative who had some concerns about the district. We had literacy coaches that are placed in the district that had some concerns about the district. At that point, Sheila Whitlow, our OCSS director, I asked her to push in some folks to start supporting, seeing how we could be more hands-on with the district, and to also just start kind of collecting some evidence and some areas if there was indeed concerns. Since January, we have gone in regularly just to kind of offer some assistance and kind of find out what's kind of going on. In that time, in the semester time, they've not renewed their assistant superintendent. They have placed their current superintendent on paid administrative leave pending investigations. Since really 2018, they've kind of have had a just open door of different superintendents. It's like 6 different superintendents since that time. Their board structure and governance structure, we actually had heard lots of concerns regarding board. They're actually an 8-member board, which state law requires you to have an odd number. However, they were years ago told they had to have an 8-member board due to some federal legislation pieces. So that's something that we're looking at. However, we went back and actually reviewed 26 board meeting agendas and notes over the last 3 years. And in that, you could see a significant lack of cohesion within the board, lots of 4-to-4 splits, lots of indecisions about who to hire and not to hire, looking at the notes and the minutes based on just hiring, like big decisions based on hiring a superintendent, the lack of decisions or being split occurred multiple times. Sometimes votes or decisions that have to do with $1 million contracts kind of go straight through, but then we debate, some personnel hirings or what to do go way off track. So there seems to be a lack of cohesion and consistency, lack of attendance sometimes by board members. And so there is a concern there about the governance aspect of the Blytheville School District. In meeting with them, they currently had 21 jobs posted for a district of 1,300 kids. They have 21 jobs that they feel like they needed to get filled. And so when we started looking at the staffing components, we feel like actually they're overstaffed at the high school. They do have a district-wide waiver for teacher licensure. And we've seen this before in some districts where they had this district-wide for several years. And what has come to happen is most of the teachers in the elementary school are unlicensed. So it is conceivable that you could go through the Blytheville School District from kindergarten all the way through and maybe never have a licensed teacher. They have numerous virtual classes, even though they may be considerably overstaffed. So at this point, we are trying to send in a team to get a better handle on their staffing. We've kind of asked their interim superintendent, because their superintendent's on paid leave right now. We've asked their interim superintendent to kind of let us help them in kind of guiding them on what do they actually need for staffing as they're getting ready for the school year. Whenever you see this kind of turnover, especially at the leadership role and then the governance section, that's where we start getting into, are we coding correctly? Do we have our transcripts correct? And we've seen this before coming to this board where you've had lots of changes and all of a sudden you don't have schedules correct. We are seeing some signs of that. As we're asking them what courses and classes they're putting together next year, there seems to be some missing components. For example, they'll have several CTE pathways, however, the pathways are not complete or the offerings are not there. So there are some concerns. We wanted to make sure that you as a board were aware that there are concerns and that we do have staff going in to assist. But I'm happy to take any specific questions or comments right now.
If I could add to that too, we wanted to put this on our board's radar because what we don't want to have is to repeat a similar situation that we had at Watson Chapel last year, where kids are sitting in cafeterias and auditoriums 3 to 4 weeks into a school year because they can't figure out how to build out a master schedule and get the kids or students in the classes that they need. So this has come to our team's attention. I commend Stacy and the school improvement team for really rolling up their sleeves and getting in there, but it's dysfunctional. And there's gonna have to be some kind of action taken in order to make sure that we have cohesion between the board and school administrators and high quality teachers in those classrooms in front of those students. So this is more than just an update. This is an opportunity for us to start having a conversation around providing those updates of what we're seeing and finding and the work that we're going to continue to support, because we're not going to let a school just be a failure factory for students. That cannot happen under our purview. But then also to get some feedback and direction from this board around next steps. Is there anything that you would like above and beyond, or additional actions that you would like to take, or maybe there's people you'd like to hear from in the district as well?
Yeah, if I may, I'm really happy that we're having this conversation. Obviously, me living in that area, it is a concern. You know, when I think about the responsibility we have here as a state, as a board, kids come first. The education absolutely comes first. Does the option or exist to perhaps bring the local board to this meeting and have those conversations? Kind of dig in and see where is the disconnect. Option number 2, you know, I think it's important to start having the conversations about transformational contracts. You know, those things that I think that should be on the front burner to initiate some type of meaningful change.
I think the short answer to your question is yes. I mean, we can, you know, at the purview of the board and the chair, make those requests. I'm always not opposed to having a meeting at the school and do a joint meeting with our board and their school board, or a workshop in the district to be there firsthand and get to hear from the stakeholders in their community. I think we can definitely do that. I don't know if the district's having those conversations or questions about external operator. Like when I look back at the support we were providing for Watson Chapel, I think it ultimately led to something along those lines. And as we're getting updates from Watson Chapel, their systems and structures seem to be more in place. They're able to get a superintendent with experience that's going to continue the work moving forward. And I think a lot of that conversation or that initiative happened was because of the conversations that this board was having with the district. So if there's a desire to do that or set up a battle rhythm to address some of these concerns, this would be a great time to solicit that feedback.
Yeah, and like something that makes it a challenge as far as us being able to provide them direct support right now is that they are in the middle of a leadership thing. They have someone on administrative leave, and so when our OCSS team is going in, who's the point of contact? Is it the interim person? Is that person really set up for decision making at this point? And not really. And so there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think being able to request them to come or go there is
Seeing
a
as this
suggestion.
wasn't an action item, excuse me, sorry.
Right, this is an update.
Seeing as this is an update, were they notified that they were on the agenda today?
Yeah, well, and I don't know which superintendent I was in
Right.
communication with, the one that's on
The one
leave.
that's
or
on
the,
leave.
So we were in communication with, I guess, the official superintendent that was on leave, and we were anticipating for that individual to be here to provide an update, but unfortunately they had a scheduling conflict as well. So we decided to just kind of keep the update as an item. We didn't invite the board.
No, we
if
didn't
that's- if
invite
that's the
anybody
question.
today.
We just talked to the superintendent that's on.
And they're interim. I mean, our team has been they're collecting information, so they were aware that we were collecting information for this.
Is the interim perhaps the assistant superintendent or someone that's
No, the
familiar?
assistant superintendent, no. I think it was the principal maybe that has been pulled up, and they are not licensed as a superintendent, so that in itself will become problematic.
Yeah, so, I do think, sadly, or gladly, I don't know, we learn from prior experiences. And I do think that the Watson Chapel experience is a very recent one. And, I think one thing I've learned from that is, we don't wait. I mean, we need to act quickly. You talked about over 10 years, there's been a decline in the enrollment, the dysfunction in the administration and in the board. I mean, I think that we really need to get moving on this. And I'm saying in a matter of weeks, not months. And I mean, I know you have a team in there already. So what level of support do they have? Stacey?
So they're considered level 4 right now. They actually, I believe they have 5 schools in Blytheville, and all 5 of their schools are considered, have an F. They are considered level 4 support. They do receive direct literacy coach intervention. We've had staff in there as far as, but we've not been directly in operations as we are in some of our other districts.
Right.
So it's more or less been more of the instructional pieces and not some of these other systems.
But even, I mean, to Jacob's point, the external operator and all that, it took us, like, from a Watson Chapel standpoint, it came here, I think, in October, and, I mean, it was months. But, I mean, I think that we just need to learn from the past.
Yeah, and when you're talking, again, this is one of the reasons we're giving you an update today. We are concerned about the opening of school. I think hearing from their board to say, what are your plans for August? And if the plans don't stand as they need to stand to be able to be ready, we may need to take action.
And I'm always ready to schedule a workshop in between meetings. So
well, I mean, it's July 11th.
Exactly, and I don't know off the top of my head the August meeting, but I think it's the 3rd week of August.
What is their first day of school? Do we know?
Most of them are around the week of the 10th.
Yeah, probably the 14th or somewhere in there,
So,
but we'll
I
find
mean,
out
I
for
do
sure.
think that we need to probably accelerate.
And schedule some sort of workshop. Unless we notice it as a meeting, you wouldn't be able to take action on the board.
Sure.
Unless you want us to schedule a meeting. So that's why I'm trying to get an idea. So I'm not opposed to doing something maybe the last week of July. I think that would give us time to get some together. We can notice it as a workshop, and because there's plenty of items that we're working on presenting for information to the board.
And whoever is in charge, interim, or whoever could maybe give us a state of the district
Absolutely.
report.
And I'd really like for their board president to be there.
So we'll request their board president and their board members, the interim or the superintendent, and then we'll have more data for you as well, so you're not just hearing from the district alone.
I know Mr. Bragg's been waiting to make a comment.
Yeah, I know we may be focused on the academic impact of this, but with prior experience on the audit committee, invariably when there's this much turnover, you know, there could be lapse in financial accountability, maybe not intentional, but just lack of institutional knowledge. And I just encourage, you know, that may be something we want to continue to look at too.
Absolutely, 100%.
Mr. Henderson.
You know, there's another piece of this that, you know, that really hadn't been talked about. You know, when you think about that area, you know, with the economic boom, the surging growth in industry, it's necessary that we advocate this and get it on the front burner because we got to fill jobs. And growing your own is a very important initiative. So it's a much bigger picture, as you mentioned, beyond the educational piece.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be in touch with you all for a workshop. Yes, but I think, I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. If your team keeps working in the next week or two and feels that there needs to be more elevated, we can do a workshop and a meeting. Okay. If y'all feel that you have a recommendation for a decision that needs to be made sooner. Thank you. Okay, board reports. So we'll start with our board and then we'll get to you, Mr. McCaslin. Any of our board members have anything to share from this past month?
I do, yes. We had a very successful in-person State Board Committee on Early Learning, led by the wonderful people at the Office of Innovation and Education, Denise and Crystal. They're just phenomenal. They're helping with our strategic planning process. We brought together as many people as we could. We invited the local leads. We had senators there. Senator English was there. We had economic development folks there, industry people. We had providers, we had teachers, we had directors, we had family home care, we had Head Start folks. Basically anybody that we could get in the room, we tried, and they came. And the overwhelming response that day was that they felt heard, which I think is so incredibly important. This is, you know, anybody that's been in early learning knows that it's been in sort of a state of crisis for a really long time. COVID brought it to light on a larger level, and you know, the governor's move, the LEARNS Act moving it into the Department of Ed, brought it an additional level of accountability, an additional level of transparency, and there's a lot of hope in that room. So it was a really positive experience. We spoke about, I'm sorry, I'm getting some kind of feedback. Am I being too loud? That's typically the problem. There we go with that. Sorry. Anyway, it was just a really exciting day, and you know, trying to be as vulnerable as possible. We also realized in planning there were some people I left out. We did not invite the Part C folks that work tirelessly for infants and toddlers and young children with disabilities. That came to light that day. You've got to bring them in. Something else that came to light that day outside of them feeling heard and having a voice, and the other folks that needed to be in the room, was the focus on families. And so being able to put that into our vision, we want early learning, this unified, Arkansas's unified early childhood system should work in a way that supports children, families, providers, and communities so each can flourish. And that having that vision and including families is going to be a key part in every decision made. No program should be put out without all of those factors considered. And having the voice of those doing the work daily was really important. So I look forward to our next thing that we're tackling, which we hope to dig into. We're going to have a virtual meeting and then followed up by another in-person meeting. I'd love for you guys to come and just get a glimpse of what's happening, because it is so critically important in every community in Arkansas. So thanks for letting me share.
Do you know when your next in-person meeting is?
I do have a date, but I will have to email it to you because I don't have it in front of me right now. There's several dates running around in my head right now, but I'll get it to you.
That'd be great.
Just let us all know, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
It's amazing what y'all are being able to do and bring together in such a short time. Thank you for your work. Other board members?
Mine wasn't last month, it was actually in April, that I had a chance, a wonderful opportunity with the Arkansas Leadership Academy and Bradley Weber to visit Elmwood Middle School in Rogers as they tried to, or put the principal through the master principal evaluation. And it was an incredible experience. It's an A school, and the principal, Molly Davis, was just selected as principal of the year for the middle school level. And I would highly suggest if we could visit an A school and bring us some hope after hearing about some of these other schools that are struggling, but to see that whole building, because you visit with the community, you visit with all the teachers, all the staff, you visit with students, to see all of those pieces working together and the high energy in that school was just amazing, amazing. And it was just a wonderful experience to be included in that. And so they let me tag along and learn, and I learned a lot that week. So, yeah.
In May, I got to attend the State Officer Leadership Academy Stakeholder Banquet at Arkansas Tech University, and this was 8 Arkansas career and technical student organizations. Think FBLA, FFA, those groups. The students that were elected to serve in statewide leadership roles in those organizations had a training time. I think they were there for maybe a whole week, and I got to go see their end of their training session presentations about the things they are going to focus on in their leadership roles next year. And I was just very impressed with the things that those students are going to take on, their public speaking, their engagement with the audience, their confidence. And I also was impressed, another shout out to Harmony Grove High School, with Brody Ray, who was elected one of the vice presidents of FBLA for the state of Arkansas from Harmony Grove. But it was a wonderful time seeing students take on their leadership roles.
That's awesome. Yeah. Further comments?
Yeah. Dr. Moore, a couple of weeks ago, I too had the opportunity to attend a national Be Pro, Be Proud conference in Greenville, South Carolina. The State Chamber, Andrew Parker, him and his team did a phenomenal job facilitating that conference. I felt very proud to be amongst that group. The Department of Education, the partnership we have with Be Pro, Be Proud, and the cohesiveness and the things that we're doing in the state was mentioned and referenced to multiple times. So it was several different states in there, educators, workforce leaders, and Arkansas was mentioned multiple times as a leader. And I felt very proud being amongst that team.
Okay, with that, Mr. McCaslin,
Okay.
we'll kick it to you.
All
Welcome
right.
to your first meeting. Yeah.
I'm still here. I just want to start off by saying how much I appreciate you guys, how much I'm looking forward to it. About 5 years ago, I had an assistant superintendent tell me, he said, Bo, when you take your coaching blinders off, you're going to realize how big this district machine is. And there was no lie to that. And now I've gotten my district blinders off, and I'm excited to learn how big the state machine is when it comes to education. And I've already realized the big job that you guys have on your hands. And really thank you for that. And looking forward to learning from all of you, and just looking forward to this awesome learning experience for myself. But to share with you today, now I started July 1st. It's only been a few days, but I don't have a whole lot to report under my official time. But I'm going to tell you about the last 6 months and take this opportunity to really brag on my kids as well. But and you might have to bear with me with this clicker. He told me I would have it right. Point at the monitor back here, correct? There we go. Just a little bit about me real quick. I'm a product of Southwest Arkansas. Grew up in DeQueen, ended up going to school there K through 12. I took a different route to education though. Straight out of college, went into local television, worked here in the Little Rock market, as well as the Fayetteville market for about 8 years, and then went into education in '08 with my wife. We entered education at the same time. She's the real teacher of the year in my mind. I'm not even the best teacher in the house when I go home at night. She's taught the grades K through 5, and she, for the past 5 years, has been a librarian there at the Queen Primary. And we recently just became grandparents and have one 11-month-old and a 6-month-old, and they are hitting the age to where they realize they can control the room, regardless of where they're at. But an exciting time in our life. And like I said, she's awesome. It's awesome to have a partner with you in the life as a teacher. And it's like I told her today, she said, well, good luck today. I said, well, I've got the easy part. I get to tell the story about my kids. She is giving a 7-hour PD session to a bunch of teachers today. So I said, you're the one that needs to do it. I'll start off, let's just go back to October. One of the biggest surprises in my life, and just an awesome, awesome day. Secretary Oliva and the Governor Sanders surprised us all. There's a couple of funny stories that go along with this day. The first of which was my Superintendent Sanders, trying to guarantee that I would be on campus the day that they arrived.
Oh, no.
He's a great boss. He's never one that's come to me and says, I need you here at this day and this time. Well, that Friday before he did. And over the weekend, I just thought about it, and I was like, and what he told me is he had a superintendent buddy that was thinking about putting the same type of program into their school, and he was going to be there, and he wanted my kids on hand for us to model what we do each day. And so luckily I was there. What he told me later was he knows that come fall, my favorite place to be is in a tree in the woods, and he was deathly afraid that when Secretary Oliva and Governor Sanders showed up that day, I might have taken a personal day to be in the woods. But I said, no, that's not going to happen. The other funny part about it is if you look closely at our kids, they're all dressed in pajamas. I believe Secretary Oliva shared this part of the story with you last October. It happened to be Spirit Week, and that day was Pajama Day for our students. Luckily, I did not partake in Pajama Day, or I would have been in pajamas as well. But that picture on the right, I'm so glad Kim's team captured it, because if somebody was to ask what our program is, that picture right there defines what our program is, and how close we've become over the last 3 years since we started. And then this past spring, CTE Day at the Capitol, we were asked to come showcase our program. Very honored to take part in that. Our kids did an outstanding job. If you look closely there, that's one of our returning seniors. She'll be back this year. She's interviewing Secretary Oliva. And if you look back in the background, Governor Sanders is getting a lesson on how to work our cameras. Funny little tidbit on this is when they got back the next week to edit the pieces that we were going to showcase in our show, we only got to use about 10 seconds of Secretary Oliva's sound because the audio went out. Kids were frustrated on that. I said, we're not going to do the blame game and all that. We just need to teach the governor a little bit better to where we have good audio, apparently. But they got a kick out of that. And it was awesome for them to have the opportunity to come up here to Little Rock. We don't get to do that a lot from way down in southwest Arkansas. And we made a whole day out of it. Went down the street and took a few field trips at the KRK studios and Fox 16 studios. And then in February, I took my first step in my ATOY journey. We've had 2 sessions so far in our partnership with the CCSSO Professional Development Program. It's their NTOY orientation was in Santa Clara, California. Did not know what to expect out of this. It was probably one of the most biggest 3 days growth professionally I've had as an educator. Because as you get this title next to your name, you're really not sure what all comes with it. There's also a little bit of imposter syndrome involved there. But then you're thrown into a workshop with 55 other individuals that are going through the same thing. And just an awesome time. And I encouraged Essie to continue that relationship up with CCSSO because it's the most effective professional growth I've had as an educator. And that is that middle picture is Mark Lowry. He's also the Ohio State Teacher of the Year for 2024. has the exact same type of program we have here at the Queen. And then March rolled around, and I got to take my kids out to the STN National Convention. This is, STN stands for Student Television Network. And we were able to fund this opportunity for the kids through a partnership with a local radio station, which I'll get into a little bit later. But what was awesome about this, there were more than 5,000 students from across the country, from small towns, big schools, you name it, and basically took over downtown Long Beach for 5 days. The kids competed in what they call the Crazy Eights competition, where they had 8 hours to produce a live broadcast show that's 8 minutes long based on one prompt that they don't get until 10 o'clock that morning. And it's one of those where they completely compete on their own, go out, no guidance from me, and just to be able to turn a product in by deadline, it is a win in itself. Because you take I think there were more than 150 teams competing in that one category that our kids were competing in. So they made deadline, but they were also got acknowledged for the work they had already been doing through the school year. Two of their shows were recognized for outstanding achievement in broadcast excellence, which is it's not quite an Emmy, but it's on up there with an Emmy. And I might have just turned that off, right? There we go.
Isn't it lights, camera, action?
Yeah. There we go. While we were out there in Long Beach, and this is kind of a cool story, we had one day outside of competition, so we took advantage. You have 10 kids from Southwest Arkansas, none of which had ever been to Hollywood, 6 of which were on a plane for the very first time in their life. And while we were there, we took half a day, we toured the Disney Studios, Disney Animation Studios, as well as WB Studios. Now, I have an in to the Disney Studios because Andy there in the foreground is married to my Aunt Kara. My Aunt Kara McCaslin has lived in Hollywood for the past 30 years. And took us through the Disney Studios that morning, then WB Studios. The Disney Studios tour was a top secret tour. We got to go in on one of the most famous sound mixing stages on the planet. And the great part about this whole trip, I mean, yes, the kids got to see all kinds of cool things, but was my aunt being able to share her story at the end. Shared her story of how she grew up in Clarendon, Arkansas, in the Delta. Small town Arkansas girl, was able to receive her education, and that is now in Hollywood with a 30-year career. And it's just a story that my kids could connect to, that if they wanted to, yes, that is an option, that nothing can hold them back. And then in April, we returned and we got really busy. This is one of the story of one of our partnerships. This partnership was with SWEPCO, a power company in West Arkansas. Big news, of course, in April was April 8th. The eclipse was taking place. The Queen was in the longest path of totality in the state of Arkansas, I believe. But SWEPCO reached out to us early in the spring and asked us if we could have a few students that they could partner with to create an educational video that they could show not just throughout the state but throughout the region. We had 4 students work together to create an educational video, an 8-minute educational video that was shown in Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, I think a little bit of Missouri. Well, to celebrate that, SWEPCO came on hand and KTBS came up from Shreveport on, I believe, the morning April 5th, leading up to the eclipse, and broadcast their entire morning show from our studios. And not only that, they ended up, we were producing our own morning show as they're doing their live hits from the studio. And the weatherman, meteorologist there at KTBS watched Sophie, our meteorologist. She didn't quite have the qualifications to be named meteorologist, but does the weather for us. He saw the talent she had and how good a job she was doing, so he pulled her in to do the remaining weather hits for their show. So she ended up doing about 5 live weather hits for the KTBS morning show. Really cool opportunity for her. Then Washington Week was at the end of April and the 1st of May. Just an awesome opportunity. This is also connected with CCSSO. And we had a day of Capitol Hill Day. We got to spend at the Capitol. We got to meet, I had the opportunity to meet with Senator Bozeman as well as Congressman Westman. And at the end of the week, we had a special treat at the White House where they had a state dinner for all the teachers of the year from each state. The other cool part about that was CCSSO reached out to me ahead of time, about a couple of weeks, so we had to rush. And Ashley McCall and Deontay Valeda were my seniors who just graduated. They asked me if I could bring 2 students that they were going to embed with the White House Press Corps. And so they came up later in the week, and that is the picture they sent me at 3 o'clock that evening. We hadn't even left the hotel, so they got to go into the White House before us, and they embedded them with the White House Press Corps and to cover the event. And the bottom picture you see on the left is whenever they had the state dinner, they introduced the guests. Well, there's also the press that is behind the press robes to take the pictures. I didn't ask for permission. It was one of those I was going to ask for forgiveness later. So I went over there and grabbed my 2 girls out from behind the press robe so we could actually take a picture together there in the White House. And that is my wife. She was my +1. Just a really special night, but what made it extremely special was I got 2 students there with me. It's a lifetime event for them as well. Just to give you a quick story about what our program is about. Our program at DQTV was built on 3 principles. One was to empower the students, empower them with skills, not just skills going to broadcasting, but really the professional skills that will transfer into any industry that they go into. The other was we wanted to serve our community as well as celebrate our Leopard family. Now we empower the students through a variety of means. I mean, it is completely student-led, student-produced, and it's all done by student choice. I'm more of a facilitator now as we enter year 4. Most of our leadership positions are filled through our seniors in their executive producer roles. Our mission and purpose: serve the community. We did that in a variety of ways. Each month on our shows we have a story that's community focused. You see that the big story on the left there was the opening of our community hospital, Sevier County Regional Medical Center, and then even back during COVID on the right, we had COVID panel sessions. A few of those where our local healthcare providers came on and served on the panel and answered questions, and we released that via YouTube and Facebook. Mission and purpose, to celebrate our Leopard family. We do that in a variety of ways. You see a live broadcast of our graduation ceremonies there on the left, as well as professionally produced hype videos, not just for athletics, but also for our school system. And our partnership, this is with KDQN. We have many partnerships, with one that's really special is the one we have with Jay Bunner and his team at KDQN. And this is one of those, it's not a top-down partnership. It's a bottom-up partnership where the 2 of us just went to lunch one day. We said, okay, he explained his needs. He was needing at his station. I explained what we could provide. We said, how can we meet in the middle, but always putting student learning first. And it's really grown, it's really helped both of us, but more importantly, it's created 2 things. There's two revenue streams that have been created through it. With the help of Arkansas Broadcasting Association, our students have work-based learning opportunities through paid internship. And then through an agreement between DQTV and KDQN, the advertising revenue that's made off the streaming throughout the year is split 50-50 between us. DQTV gets 50% of the revenue made from the ad, goes straight back into our program. You don't see that at a lot of schools. A lot of schools, there's a lot of hands getting into that revenue. But out of that, from that revenue, we were able to cover the cost of that trip to Long Beach, California, to give those 10 students that opportunity to where they didn't pay a dime. They did not pay a dime, except for any extras that they wanted. And that's what I believe you can get when there's a bottom-up partnership created, and you don't have too many hands into it. And it's just it's a shout out to Jay Bunner and his team at KDQN, willing to do that as well. And that's just kind of my goals. My goals goals and focus over the next year is kind of share our story, but also I know there's many of those stories taking place all across the state, and I want to shine the light on where those partnerships are really helping generate opportunities for kids, especially work-based learning opportunities for students. And that's kind of my passion, but my passion is also rural education. And I know there's a lot of great things that are taking place in rural Arkansas. I'm one of those that I don't like to use the word barrier. I like to use the word obstacle, because obstacles you can work around and work through. And I think there's a lot of common obstacles in rural education that I can relate to, and hopefully that I can be an ambassador for teachers all across the state, but especially in rural Arkansas. And to conclude, it's kind of the phrase I go by. I believe a good teacher is one who becomes progressively unnecessary. I'm one that believes in getting our students to a place where they can take ownership of their own learning. And that's my report.
That's amazing. We're so glad to have you join our board now and to hear some of your story, and we look forward to hearing more about you and your students and the work that you do this year.
Thank you.
That's okay.
So yes, I agree with the sentiments of Dr. Moore. Welcome aboard. We look forward to a wonderful year learning from you as well. So consider us part of your classroom and an active participant as a student, because we want to improve and support teachers in the work that you're doing, as well as state officials. So I'll just do a kind of a brief update. We heard a lot about what we've been working on this summer, and it's hard to believe our young scholars are going to be coming back here in just a few weeks in many of our school districts. And a lot of people tend to think that when school's not in session that schools are closed, but I can tell you they are really, really busy right now getting everything up and running. People are engaging in professional learning. We have a lot of student programs like Mr. Wood talked about, and like even Governor's School, and our staff all over the state is supporting so many wonderful initiatives to keep students engaged. One of the things that we're looking at, that we're working on as we're getting ready for year 2 of LEARN's implementation is making sure districts have what they need to start off on day 1 to hit the ground running. So we're really excited about the updates we heard with our assessment systems, our literacy supports, high impact tutoring. All of that work is continuing to move, constantly investing and celebrating and elevating our teachers is going to be a priority. Since our last meeting, we've awarded over $10 million in teacher merit pay all across the state. Over 3,000 teachers received recognition for their hard work. So we're excited to keep moving that forward. One of the initiatives that we've been working with several superintendents and districts, in fact, we did a webinar this morning with superintendents that Governor Sanders has really been pushing us on, is making sure that we're also meeting the support for students around mental health. And there's a lot of research that's coming out more and more recently and becoming more empirical and practical, especially around our middle school age students. The amount of anxiety and cases of depression that are being tied to the addictiveness of social media on cell phones. And this is something that as a state in our board, I think we're going to need to continue to have these conversations in educating families and working with school districts about the danger and harm that comes with these devices and the possibility of increasing the need for access to mental health because of it. And so we're working with school districts all across the state. We've opened up some pilot programs where districts are partnering with us to implement cell phone bans in school, especially during instructional time. And we're excited to support these districts that are going to be bold and innovative in tackling on this approach. In fact, we partnered with the Office of Educational Policy at the University of Arkansas. We're going to do a formal research study and look at the impact on schools that implemented some sort of cell phone ban, especially in our secondary schools, compared to ones that don't. They're going to do focus group surveys with teachers, with students, with families, and do a full peer-reviewed study on Arkansas students. So this is something that I wanted to make sure that our board was up to speed and up to date on, because it's gonna be a priority of ours, because we're gonna get all the conditions right for students to be successful academically, but then we also want them to be successful emotionally. And there's a lot of opportunity, not obstacles or barriers, a lot of opportunity in this space as well. So thank you for another wonderful meeting.
Thank you. Let's see, we have public comments. We have 3 individuals sign up for public comment. Per our board procedures, 3 minutes per comment. And up first we have Dr. Cedric Rice.
I want to say good late morning to you, or good afternoon, to Secretary Lever and Arkansas State Board of Education. I am Sir Derek Charles Rice, citizen of my hometown of Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and chair of the Pine Bluff School District Board of Directors. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today during public comments. I'm here to first tell you that our theme and vision for the school district is still encompassed in the magnificent journey of the Pine Bluff School District, and we are moving forward. This journey includes regaining local control, passing a millage, and now we are building a new state-of-the-art high school. I'm excited and blessed to serve on the board and to support educational opportunities for our students, who in a short period of time will become graduates, go on to enroll in colleges, universities, and trade schools, become successful entrepreneurs, business owners, and taxpayers, and some will seek to serve our country as members of the armed forces. I'm also here to address the fact that we have some individuals in our community who use this platform to speak to you to spread untruths and false narratives about the Pine Bluff School District Board, our superintendent, and try to create discourse and division between the Pine Bluff School District, superintendent, and the major stakeholders in the Pine Bluff community. I know this is the case because when I watch the saved videos of these meetings, these individuals always speak negatively about the Pine Bluff School District Board and superintendent, and never discuss the progress we've made since regaining local control, the strong support we received from the community to pass a millage, and how we are improving academic standards and personnel in the district to provide a stronger educational experience for our students, how we are improving our fiscal responsibilities in the district, and the steps we're taking to build a state-of-the-art high school for our students and our community who voted for it and deserve it. We are working hard to make sure we never lose state control again. I most often hear negative comments, false narratives, and many untruths, but today is a new day. And Secretary Lever, democracy and freedom of speech works 2 ways. People have the right to address you on this board and say whatever they want to negatively about the Pine Bluff School District and our superintendent, but people like me also have the right to counter those false statements with facts and to highlight the efforts of those who only want to create discourse and division and are not focused on the current and future success of our students. It's simple to me. We serve to make sure our students succeed, which should be our only priority. Director Hunter, as a community, false narratives about our school district board and superintendent do not help us in the short or long term. K-12 education is the lifeblood of many communities in Arkansas. So false narratives and untruths have more damaging impact in our city and the region where we live. So in closing, I want to let you all know that I will try to attend future board members. That's my 3 minutes? Okay, I'll end
We'll
with
let
that.
you finish the sentence.
Okay,
Yeah.
So in closing, I want to tell you all know that I will try to attend future board of education meetings and sign up for public speaking to try to allay some of those comments. And as I said during our historic groundbreaking of our new high school, I thank God for our superintendent, Dr. Jennifer Barbary. I thank God for our board of directors, and thank God for the citizens in Pine Bluff who support our efforts as a board. Thank you. Go Zebras.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. Next on the list, I have Ms. Charlene Wright.
Good afternoon. I am here. I would like to, even though I emailed some of you, and I apologize to the others that I here again writing about the denial of the Pine Bluff School District and elected board after its return to local control after the 5 years as the following school districts: Helena, West Helena, Pulaski County Special School District, Little Rock School District was in November 2016, November 2020, and pursuant to Act 633 and Senate Bill 364. In concert with Mr. Newton's comments on June 13, we are equally concerned as to why the school district, Pine Bluff School District, is being discriminated against, in that we are not given the same opportunity as the other districts who were released from state control of an election of all 7 directors in a single election, when Pine Bluff School District met the exit criteria for fiscal distress and level 5 intensive support within 5 years. Listening to Mr. Gary Newton's public comments on June 13, as well as he gave me a copy of his comments attached, that we have been afforded no rights to this oversight of intentional discrimination, and I was surprised to hear Secretary Oliva, and when talking to the family this morning, said discrimination. There is intentional discrimination against the Pine Bluff School District's rights, according to Act 633 and Senate Bill 364, which clearly states that we are due an election of all 7 board members. Instead, there have been malicious, arbitrary, and capricious attempts to fraud the Pine Bluff School District of our fundamental right of an elected board in a single election. We ask that you expunge your previous vote and reconsider your decision to deny all 7 new school board electors in a single election in the Pine Bluff School District, as Mr. Gary Newton requested on June 13, and allow a single election of all electors. We do not wish to use the courts to protect and to secure our voting rights of an elected board for the Pine Bluff School District. We have met the exit criteria of fiscal distress and level 5 intensive support, and it's due the right of a single election of all 7 elected board members. We are starting community engagement meetings. We were denied to speak at the school board meeting in Pine Bluff School District. So therefore, and I want to leave you all this, tomorrow evening, we will have a community engagement. Since the school board wants to deny our right to speak and come up with rules to limit our free speech, we will have our own committee meetings within the community. And if it takes to whatever means necessary, the law is there. As Secretary Lever said, it's discrimination. I don't know any way to put it, Secretary. And like Attorney Wood said, you have to empower us in this local control. We have educators.
That is 5 minutes, but
okay,
you can continue your
educators.
thoughts.
We can lead our district.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Mr. Julius Wright, once you get up, you'll have your 3 minutes as well. Okay, well, he's written down, so he can have it.
I invited you. He wanted me to invite you.
Okay, are you sure? Okay. Okay. And is there anyone else that signed up to speak? No. Okay. I did realize I didn't open the floor for questions after the Secretary's comments. If anyone else had any questions.
I do have a comment I'd like to make before we adjourn related to the public comments we've heard. I just want to bring to the board's attention that the time for the school board election process to begin is July 31st of this month, the 31st of this month, and it ends the time for signing up for school board elections ends on August 7th. And so if our board was to have any interest in reconsidering the plan that was put forth last September, it would be imperative that we do so this month. In September, I opposed the plan that was put forth. I actually did it for the wrong reasons, though. I'm admitting that I did not have the lawfully correct reasons to oppose it. I supported a plan that would have been less than 5 elections to return Pine Bluff to full local control. I supported 2 elections to do so. My argument was more people vote in even year presidential and gubernatorial elections, and so let's set the board up to be elected in those elections. I have been convinced since then that the law is clear that it should be returned in 1 election. And given that we were returning it to local control last September, that could not be accomplished in November of last year. That would leave this November to be the time for it to be returned to full local control in 1 election. I do respect that there are people on the other side of this argument that believe that the process that was implemented is a good process and promotes stability, and having been involved in a school district that was under state control and returned to local control, and the frustrations that exist in that relationship, I get it, and I understand the desire for continuity over a period of time and stability. I get all of those arguments. I come back to, I believe that the law tells us, and I'm just one of 9 of us. I do not speak for the board, and in my comments that I believe we should return them in 1 election, I do not adopt the comments that were made today about discrimination. I'm not agreeing with Ms. Wright or Mr. Wright. I'm just, from my own perspective, I do believe that we should return Pine Bluff to local control in 1 election and let the people of Pine Bluff elect a school board. My hope would be that they would elect the people that are already serving. They seem to be doing a good job. They have a good vision. I appreciate the work that's going on there. But I believe my 1 of 9 votes would be that we return them in 1 election this November, and that we do so soon so that people in Pine Bluff that are interested in being on the school board would be able to sign up for the school board election for this November. I would be interested in a special meeting to do so. I'm just 1 of 9. I don't want to belabor the point if that is not, if my opinion is not shared by anyone else, but if it were shared by someone else, then potentially there's a discussion to be had about that.
Our bylaws state that a special meeting can be called at the request of 3 members of the board.
So the Attorney General commented or made a ruling or something about this, submitted opinions, correct? Mr. Rhodes, do you want to speak to that and how, I understand the opinion was that 633 does not apply because it's not retroactive. Tell us a little bit more about that opinion as guidance for us.
Sure. So Mary will be bringing copies of the AG opinion if you'd like to have it. I don't know if you have them currently.
Copies of what?
Of the AG opinion that you've referenced.
Okay.
And there should be there should be one for everyone. So it's my understanding that sometime in the spring of 2024, members of the General Assembly requested an Attorney General opinion on this particular item. And on May 14th, 2024, the Attorney General's office released opinion number 2024-035. And that's the opinion that you appear to be referencing. There were a number of questions asked about the applicability of Act 633 to the decision of the board in September. And I can't speak for the Attorney General, so I'm just going to read verbatim what the opinion says as to the first question. So it begins with the following. You asked the following 5 questions. Does Act 633 of 2023 apply to the return of the Pine Bluff School District to local control? The brief response answers no. Laws are presumed to apply prospectively, not retroactively, unless the text requires otherwise. The relevant actions that Act 633 requires of the state board would have had to have happened almost 3 years before Act 633's effective date. Thus, Act 633 does not apply because it is not retroactive. It goes on to expand on that answer and then some other hypothetical answers that were asked based on that answer. And I don't think you want me to read the 4-page answer or
I think
7-page answer in its entirety, but you should have a copy of it. This opinion has been available on the Attorney General's website since its release in May 14th. I've inquired with the Attorney General to see if anyone else has requested a similar request, submitted a similar request, and no one has since then. So this is really the only Attorney General opinion that would be dealing with this question.
Thank you. No, this is a report section, so at this point in time, public comment is over and people were giving reports. If there's any follow-up questions, you can go to Mr. Rhodes at this point in time. Any other comments? Okay. I was remiss earlier in not mentioning the passing of Dr. Laura Bedner this week. She was an assistant commissioner here at the agency and devoted her career to education. She's from Stuttgart. And actually, I had the pleasure of being hired by her. About 15 years ago, she took a chance and hired Teach for America in Stuttgart for the first time, and I was one of those. And so I know she leaves a legacy far beyond her years, both here in Little Rock. She worked in Pulaski County School Districts and other systems in Stuttgart and across the state. So her family will be honoring her today and tomorrow, and I didn't want to get by without just sharing her hard work and dedication to students here in Arkansas. With that, any additional reports to be had? Okay, with that, we will conclude our meeting. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for the agency for the hard work you do for our meetings. We are adjourned.